Okay, I'll take care of it.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate you stepping up, huh? All right, John, I'll wait for you so that I can go ahead and call the meeting to order.
You're good.
Go ahead and call it order. Okay, all right. At this time, good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the City Council Housing Authority and Successor Agency of the Redevelopment Agency to order, and to turn this time over to the City Attorney for report on the closed session.
Mayor, council, members of the public, we do not have any reportable action this evening on the items that were discussed in closed session, but I understand that the mayor may have an announcement about the evaluation matters.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Should I go ahead and adjourn the meeting first and then just give an update on our process, and then we'll go from there? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so at this time, I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the closed session to a meeting next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Just want to let everyone know that we are currently in the process of doing evaluations. Like anything else, it takes a little bit of time. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to look at our evaluations, and then to also meet with our team, our city attorney, our city manager, and our city clerk. I hope I've explained that well, Sonia. I just want to let everyone know, and then we'll come back to closed session next to the closed session next council to wrap that up. So, okay, all good. All right. I didn't say it exactly how I told you earlier, so forgive me. All right. Thank you. We will adjourn this meeting to a meeting on Monday, March 15, 2021. That's open session that will take place via Zoom webinar. Closed session items will be discussed at 5:30 p.m. The open session will commence at 7 p.m. As all of you know, on March 16, 2020, the City Council declared a local emergency in response to the global COVID-19 outbreak. Preserving the health and safety of our employees and the public is our top priority. In accordance with the California Governor's Executive Order N-25-20 regarding the Brown Act and guidance from the California Department of Public Health on gatherings, this meeting is taking place by teleconference. City Council chambers is closed. The public is accessing the meeting via the Pomona internet streaming channel on the city's website. Council members and I, along with the city manager, the city attorney, city clerk, and executive team, are all in different locations. Please bear with us as the technology may disrupt the flow of the meeting. The agenda has been modified to accommodate the needs of a council meeting that is teleconference. Councilmember Preciado, it looks like Councilmember Torres is here. I'm going to ask him to so kindly to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please do so, Councilmember Torres?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Please stand, place your right hand on your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Torres. Appreciate that. Okay, Rosalia, if you'd be so kind to do the roll call.
Will do, Mayor. Councilmember Nolte?
Here.
Councilmember Preciado?
Here.
Councilmember Garcia? Here. Councilmember Ontiveros Cole?
Here.
Vice Mayor Lustro?
Here.
Councilmember Torres?
Here.
Mayor Sandoval?
Here. Thank you. All righty, next item.
Next item is presentations, and this is a proclamation proclaiming March 2021 as National Women's History Month in the city of Pomona.
Great. Thank you. And I have a proclamation before us that I am going to read to us. And okay, let me go ahead and do so. All right. Do any of the council members have it before them? No, that's okay. I was gonna lean on some of you to help me read this. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and read it. This is a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Pomona, County of LA, State of California, proclaiming March 2021 as National Women's History Month in the City of Pomona. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our community and nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play a critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force and were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which creates a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. And whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas the 2021 national theme for the observance is Valiant Women of the Vote, refusing to be silenced, and whereas the Pomona community is encouraged to join in celebrating the month of March, women's contributions and their immense impact on American history, now therefore, City Council of the City of Pomona does hereby proclaim March 2021 as National Women's History Month, dated this first day of March 2021. Thank you. All right. Anybody on the council want to say anything other than I think we could all clap for that. Absolutely. All righty. Okay. I turn it back to you, Rosalia.
Okay. Next item is Mayor Councilmember Communications, and these are reports on conferences, seminars, and regional meetings attended by the mayor and city council and announcements of upcoming events.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the council if they'd be so kind as just to use the raised hand feature if you'd like, or if you want to just raise your hand, I'll call on you, okay? Okay, I do see Vice Mayor Lustro. Please go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, hope everybody is doing well and staying healthy as we try to get on the downside of the pandemic. I just this evening just want to thank a couple of city departments. I want to thank Public Works for the installation of the 2 new digital speed feedback signs in District 5. One is on Mission Boulevard eastbound, approaching Phillips Drive, and the second one actually just got installed today, westbound Village Loop Road, just west of Gunsmoke Avenue. As with the others that have been installed, hopefully they will remind at least responsible drivers anyway to watch their speed as they're driving our streets and driving through our neighborhoods here in Pomona. And then the second thanks I'd like to send out is to Water Resources for their quick response to a water leak last week. One of our residential streets, they got out there pretty quick, had all their heavy equipment out there digging it up and doing the repair and patching it up. So appreciate the quick response from our departments. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Okay, I'm going to go with Councilmember Preciado, and then Councilmember Garcia, and then Councilmember Anaveros Cole. Go ahead, Councilmember Preciado.
Hello, everyone. I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who came to our Zoom meeting. It was an intro of commissioners. We plan to do more of them, try to find more accessible ways to have them open to more people. And as we get the kinks down, we'll do them more often. Also on Saturday, we wanted to try out a parks neighborhood. We have a Powers Park in the far end, south end of District 2. We had a small community meeting there. It's a beautiful park. We were able to, everybody to space out. We had plenty of hand sanitizers, masks, and we had items available. It's just, we have to start figuring out how we're going to start approaching these meetings and making ourselves accessible as we continue on our path. I also wanted to say thank you to all of the staff and commissions and everybody that has helped put together we have grown our little free library in our parks. And just to And as well as a big thank you to the stewards who will be taking care of them. We have Martin Luther King Park, which will be taken care of by Just Us for Youth. Centennial Park, which the stewards are Gente Organizada. Tony Serta Park, the steward is Day One, Pomona. And also at Tony Serta Park, if you get a chance to stop by, Joe Dead and the Alley Gallery did a new mural on the stage. It was submitted through the Activate Pomona permit, and it's a very, very nice hummingbird that was done there. And then our latest little free library that will be installed will be at Powers Park, and the stewards there are Cesar Hernandez, who lives on that block. So thank you, everyone.
I think the mayor said
You're
that
on
I
mute,
can
Mayor.
speak now.
If you've spoken already and your hand is still raised, if you'll please lower your hand, I'd appreciate it. All right, we'll go ahead and move on with you, Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to take an opportunity to really thank our park staff. I believe I made a mention of it during our special meeting, but I wanted to mention it now again. Our park staff, in preparation of Prop 68 funding, has made several meetings, all on a Sunday. It was a marathon session. Translation was provided for our parents from Conexión de Padres. I know that it's important to everyone to keep our parks up, running, safe. And so I really appreciate everyone who's stepping up for parks, and want to thank staff for being so responsive to our community. And hopefully the city of Pomona will be receiving some more good news regarding Prop 68 this second time around as well. But I also want to take a moment to thank the NAACP of Pomona Valley for allowing me to speak for a brief moment at their second annual Freedom Fund on Saturday. It was a wonderful Zoom program, beautiful voices, inspirational community programming, and scholarships were handed out to students in the area. And I really want to thank the Pomona Valley NAACP and President Jeanette Royston for having Supervisor Hilda Solis, Cal Poly Pomona President Dr. Soraya Coley, as well as a representative for Senator Connie Leva's office, Michael Townsend, speak. And I want to thank the entire community for showing up for such a wonderful event, and to recognize the two individuals who were recognized with a Courage Award by the NAACP, Ms. Chara Swadek and Ms. Miranda Sheffield. I think it was a wonderful celebration of positivity in our community, and a wonderful end to Black History Month. So thank you very much, the NAACP, for that information and that invitation. And that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Honoraros Cole.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Glad to see everybody tonight. I want to thank Public Works again for getting out there and taking care of some situations in my district. Also, kudos to the police department for getting a lady that was living in our city on Arrow and Town, getting her back home to Arizona to her family. They had a ticket for her bus. They verified her family, and she's now back at home. And that's something to say, especially now in these times. I want everyone to continue to be safe. Keep your vaccine appointments if you have something that's coming up, and just continue to use your safety precautions, your masks, your 6-foot distancing. Just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean that you should take off your masks and start walking around liberally. The Optimist Club, I want to thank them for inviting me to honor young students who are continuing to succeed in their academic excellence. I can't remember their names, but it was great to honor them with a city certificate of the city, along with other certificates. And it just proves, it just goes to show you how some of our children, regardless of what they're going through, being home on Zoom and everything, there are some that continue to excel in their academic endeavors, and I'm so happy that I was invited and to see these kids just succeed. So this is a great thing. So thank you very much, Optimist Club.
Thank you, Councilmember Honoraros Cole. Councilmember Torres or Nolte, do you want to add anything? Oh, okay. Councilmember Torres?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
alrighty. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, alrighty. The only thing that I have is really just two things. One, I do want to thank, there's always a lot of people to thank on staff. I want to just first just thank Jerry Perez from Public Works. We had an issue at Montview Park on Saturday, and I should also thank the residents, because the residents do reach out and they had a concern, and the water was overflowing. It was on all day over at Montview Park, and Jerry and his team were able to handle that situation and get it taken care of. I understand that the company, I think it's MCE, is working on it. It may be MCE, I'm not sure. But anyways, it's going to be fixed. Certainly the water has been stopped. And I think it's so important for people to know that on a day in and day out basis, there's somebody in the city that's working to try to address an issue that is important to you, whether it's a pothole, whether it's graffiti, whether it's an issue at the park, whether it's an issue at home. And I know that sometimes there's certainly frustration because you'd like to, I think everyone would really like to see their street repaved, unless you've had it repaved recently. And we certainly do the best that we can with the resources that we have. So I just want to say, Jerry, thank you to your team for making that happen. And if I've forgotten anyone, my apologies. Also want to let you know that I will be doing my annual State of the City address in early April. I will have a date for you on March 15th. It will be and let me just say this in a very nice way, that it'll just be me inside probably my office with a video camera presenting to you the State of the City address in out of respect for the current pandemic situation. So I'll have a date to share with you come March 15th. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to our City Clerk, Rosalie.
Okay, next item is City Manager Communications, and these are reports from the City Manager.
Mayor and Council, I just wanted to update the public on a few things happening in the city. Tomorrow, we're starting a repavement project on Valley Boulevard from Temple to Humane Way. This will run into the summer time, so just asking the public.
Sorry about
Just asking the public to bear with us as we go through this big project. And then I want to invite the public to join us on March 22nd for the city budget meetings that we're starting off. On Monday, March 22nd at 7 p.m., we'll be holding our first kickoff budget meeting. So important to get the public out there to help us define how the budget's going to happen in this next year. Remind the public that our new website is going to go live on March 30th right now. And I also wanted to put out a message that our Housing Pomona Leadership Program is still taking applications through tomorrow. And currently we have 30 people that have applied for it. But if you go to the city's website, you can apply to be a part of the program. So that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
James, thank you for that update. And I just have to say that first announcement that you made about Valley, I don't think I've ever seen Councilmember Nolte jump as high as you did, at least in my presence. But you know, and this might have to be a COVID-19 kind of thing, but can we do a groundbreaking ceremony for that work? It might be worth doing, right, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's no long overdue, but yeah, so glad to see it getting started. Thanks.
Yeah, so give us an opportunity, James, once it gets started, maybe perhaps we could do a little small ceremony, because I got to tell you, anybody who's driven down that area is the only thing I can think of is the Indiana Jones ride on at Disneyland is what comes to mind. So, all right, thank you.
I'll talk to Public Works Director.
All right,
we can set it up. Okay.
Appreciate that update, James.
Great.
Thank you so much. All right, we can go ahead and move on to the next item, Rosalia.
Okay, next item is public participation. In response to the global COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with California Governor's Executive Order N2520 regarding the Brown Act and guidance from the California Department of Public Health on gatherings, Please note that comments for public participation or for a specific item on the agenda were accepted by email and will be read into the record by the city clerk. The deadline to submit email comments was 6 p.m. and comments will also be accepted via the Q&A feature on Zoom or by live comment by phone or internet. If you would like to comment, please indicate now to staff by either using the raise hand feature on Zoom, dialing *9 if you're calling in via phone, or leaving a comment in the Q&A box. Staff will call on you one at a time. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes for their comment. And Mayor, this evening we did receive 3 email comments here at the city clerk's office, and I could read those now if you would like me to. Okay. First email public comment is from Jamie Alvarez. I'm asking that the city council please make funding of more police officers a priority. There's been an increase in gang violence in our city, as well as an increase in gang graffiti. We want to feel safe shopping, dining in our own city, and spending our tax dollars in Pomona. I feel that by being aggressive and seeking economic development, we can accomplish this and make our city safer for us residents and visitors. Thank you. Next comment is from Virginia Madrigal. Last week, someone asked me what's going on in Pomona. They were referring to the shootings and spike in crime. My answer was the city adopts policies that are not in the best interest of the community as a whole. On February 1st, you voted to prohibit no-knock warrants, going against the recommendation of Police Chief Ellis. First of all, we are not Louisville, Kentucky. Basing your decision on something that happened somewhere else is a slap in the face to our department. As Chief Ellis stated in his memory, he doesn't recall that such a warrant has been executed here. If there is ever a need to do so, their hands would be tied, and it could put innocent victims at risk. It's important to note that all warrants must be approved by a judge who has been given evidence to justify it being granted. This is evidence that you are not privileged to, so what gives you the right to put our community at risk? For years, our citizens' safety has been compromised because of bad policies. What do we have to show for it? Example, victim after victim of hit and run cases because of limits imposed to our traffic safety checkpoints. And the final email public comment is from Lucy Llamas Cortez. Tony Serta Park has been neglected far too long. The city has failed to care and maintain upkeep of the park. The park needs adequate restrooms and water fountains put in at Tony Serta Park. The light poles need to be properly put in the ground because one has fallen and almost hit a child playing on the grass a while ago. I have enjoyed going to Tony Serta Park for the Native American gatherings, music, and when poets performed spoken words, slams, and other giveaway activities held at the park. However, the park needs to be safe and healthy for the children and families. The restrooms need doors, soap dispensers, and hand blowers. There should be a snack bar for the events, for fundraisers. There should be adequate drinking fountains, and the lights need to be properly put in the grass. Washington Park, Hamilton Park, and other surrounding parks in Pomona have received millions to fix and beautify. Please consider to upkeep Tony Serta Park to be safe and healthy for the community to enjoy. And we can now go to the attendees to see if there's anyone who would like to speak at this moment. Okay. Eunice Russell, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm Eunice Russell, a resident. Oh, thank you all, council, for hearing me. I'm Eunice Russell, a resident, and also I happen to serve on the 2020 Charter Review Commission. And I want to discuss, as a resident, the events that occurred at the last Charter Commission meeting. I first want to say that I applaud our young people for their commitment to be engaged in political and civic activities. However, I'm coming to the council because I believe a number of you already work with these young people, and it is clear they're greatly in need of guidance. The young people that attended the meeting came in demanding that the commission not put primary elections before the voters. They called the commissioners liars and accused them of violating the Brown Act by holding closed meetings for people who are in favor of primaries and ignoring the community, who in this case happens to be the entire city of Pomona. Let me say this. Anytime I stand before you up here and make a statement, I'm dealing with facts and I can prove what I say, and I welcome anyone to prove otherwise. I can do that because I do my homework and have gathered evidence. The people that came to the charter meeting were not interested in an honest exchange of information and ideas. They merely wanted to put their false and misleading statements that could not be responded to by the commission on the record. Too many times I've seen young people being paraded in before the city council by different organizations to read a scripted statement demanding that whatever that organization is supporting. But it is clear the young people did not do any research and were being used to parrot the sentiments of the adult leadership that recruited them. True engagement means knowing all the facts, not just the facts you support. I come to the council because I know these young people want to be involved in the political process and look up to some of you, and you can help them by directing their enthusiasm and efforts towards making real change. I implore you, please do not weaponize their youthful exuberance and passion by training them in what I refer to as the Trump tactics of political engagement, being demanding, making statements not based in truth, and bullying. We don't need people to instigate or incite the masses with false and misleading statements. We need leaders who will engage the people and help find common ground between the opposing views so that we can build upon it. The Charter Review Commission is holding a special meeting on March 11, 2020 at 6 p.m. by Zoom to once again discuss primaries. And I hope the young people and others who are interested will take the time to read the reports and accompanying information that has been submitted to the commission and come prepared to have a real conversation based in facts and not rhetoric. And the three organizations of youth that did show up, I believe, and it could have been more, were the Pomona Student Union, Gente Organizada, and the Youth Commission. So anything that you politicians out there can do to guide these young people in the right direction is great.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker is Robert Nothoff. Speaker, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Good evening, Mayor Sandoval and members of the council. My name is Rob Nothoff, and I'm the policy director with the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor. And we're proud to voice our support in favor of tonight's hero pay ordinance. Let's not forget, these workers are the bridge that connects us to life-saving groceries.
Sir, I don't mean to cut you off. My apologies, but this is an agenda item, and we're asking if you're speaking on that item that this is non-agenda item. So our apologies. We're going to make sure that you get a chance to speak when that item comes before us. And I've already asked for that item to be moved up right after consent calendar. My apologies to you. Okay.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. If we can move on to the next speaker. And Rosalie, if we could just note,
Yes.
I want to make sure that this gentleman has an opportunity to speak for that item.
Absolutely. Okay, next speaker is Fabian. Speaker, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, dear Mayor and City Council. My name is Fabian Pavon, and I'm the chair of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I just wanted to give a quick update about some of the work I've been doing, as well as some of the work the commission as a whole has been able to accomplish. 4 out of the 7 parks in District 2 have been approved for the installation of free community libraries. All of the approved libraries have stewards and are either organizations or individual residents. You can expect a small park and rec approved landscape project to take place at Memorial Park on the 20th of March. In addition, by the end of March, you can expect a new community garden at Cesar Chavez Park. Some of the discussions that will be taking place at future parks and rec meetings are the following: evaluation of park staff liaisons and community services park programs, a free community library at Memorial Park, a beautification project at Powers Park, a parks ad hoc committee, court-ordered community service at parks, a closer look at potential park green spaces and trails, and how the commission and staff can work closer together to improve community outreach when it comes to applying for park grants. At the last parks meeting, the commission recommended that the park restrooms be opened so that the residents can follow CDC guidelines and wash their hands when they visit parks. We also recommended to the council that social media policy be revised so that the park and recreation social media account can be created like many other cities have already done. This recommendation was made in an effort to bring parks and recreations into the 21st century and help change the narrative of our parks, as well as improve the many, as well as update the many or give updates about the many changes that will be taking place at our parks within the near future. All of the recommendations made by the Parks Commission come with the intention of looking at new and innovative ways to improve the way we deal with parks and recreation within our city. I hope that you all take the time to consider our recommendations and help us make Pomona safe, vibrant, and beautiful. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Algae Tribute Dynasty. If you can state your name, you have 3 minutes, and go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good evening, Mayor Sandoval, council members, and all that hold a position in regards to our city of Pomona, whether it be a paid position or by volunteer. Your positions come with responsibility, some more than others, but your positions, all your positions are important and can make a difference and are appreciated. There are those of us residents whom appreciate what you have done and have put our trust into you and hope that you do what is best for our city and its residents. And there are those residents who think other. Regardless, if you all agree on or not agree on matters regarding our city, to have a positive image, you must represent. Because when you guys represent a positive image and a strong image, and I know you take on a lot of comments and statements and anger, you still have to be that positive person because you're an official. At the Park and Recreations meeting, Councilman Torres displayed some unnecessary conversation and behavior, and that was very inappropriate too. You guys need to keep that behind closed doors because we don't need to see that. We need to know that all of you that hold a position here for our city are working together. Because when you display that, my thoughts were like, wow, in the future, what if a project is voted on and this Council Torres and another individual disagree? Is it because they don't get along and there's resentment there? Or are they doing it for the best of our city and the residents? I hope that this was addressed, and in the future, any disagreement or dislikes amongst you guys are kept behind closed doors. We don't need to see that. Our city already has a negative image and people talk about it in a bad way. I don't want to see that with our council people or anyone that holds an important position here in our city. It means a lot. I put my trust in you guys. I appreciate all that you've done. The ladies that announced, take notes, you as well. You all are important. So please take that into consideration. Don't allow it to happen anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Okay, next speaker is coming from phone, number 909-631-6773. If you can state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
It's *6 if they need to unmute themselves.
Hi, responsible opposing view. I am Darrell Cruz. Let's talk about those cowards in 2006. Some people stood up to provide safe access to medical cannabis. They risked it all, but the elected officials in Pomona are cowards. They threatened those that offered cannabis as medicine with fines, jail time, and even worse. And they did not care that the use was authorized by state law. We all know cannabis is medicine. We all know it's safe. Yet the elected officials of Pomona had prevented the people from getting safe access. All we ever asked for was a license to allow us to do our work without interference of the incompetent, ignorant, inept imbeciles like Mayor Norma Torres. Would you say they were right or wrong 15 years ago? If you agree with their belief that the dispensary would bring crime and violence, how could you allow it now? Really? If you also think all dispensaries are fronts for drug dealers, how could you allow it now? Really? The package I provided to council staff in 2006 outlined the benefits of cannabis and explained how California law allowed it. At that time, it would convince almost anyone. You have to admit she was wrong. Any decent person would have allowed sick people to access the medicine, but not the hateful, hurtful, heinous, heathen Mayor Norma Torres or the City Council of Pomona. Maybe you could tell me what I should have included in that package to convince stupid people like them to do the right thing. More important, specifically, what does anyone know today that was unknown back then that would prove that they were right back then and you are right today? Because you are wrong today to allow it if they were right before to prohibit it. But you are even more wrong today if they were wrong back then and then you allow someone else to do it before me. You need to fix this. It's apparent that Norma Torres is one confused fool. Just look at how she recently voted to allow cannabis on a national level. She said it brings crime and violence, and she wants it on a national level. She said it's a front for drug dealers and criminals, and she wants it on a national level. The City Council has the responsibility to fix the hurtful, heinous actions taken by the incompetent Inept Mayor Torres against those founded the first dispensary to bring safe access.
Speaker, your 3 minutes are up.
Well, I thank you for my time.
Next speaker is Robert Douglas. Mr. Douglas, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and City staff. Today, I hope to start an ongoing conversation with you all around the houseless crisis here in Pomona. Over the last 8 months, myself and a growing community of others have come together to provide basic provisions to the many people who found themselves without shelter in our city. Currently, we serve around 50 people a week. Over this time period, I've developed great relationships, heard countless heartbreaking stories, and have seen incredible examples of kindness and faith, but have also been exposed to the depravities some of these folks are living in, with often lacking access to most basic amenities. I don't think that our weekly meals, clothing, and hygiene provisions that we deliver come close to solving the issue. However, I think our approach grounded in patience, compassion, connection, and humanization is a great starting point for conversation and action with these folks. Throughout our time, we have also witnessed the types of attention and resources that the city has put towards the unsheltered population, from daily collecting and disposing of folks' belongings to periods of intense surveillance and harassment, all of which can make it hard enough to get by, let alone get enough footing to take steps to getting off the streets. As one of our participants told me, I just want somewhere to be. I don't think this is an issue that we can sweep under the rug or push out of our city. These people are our neighbors and your constituents, and I hope you can begin to take steps beyond the punitive approach that continue to perpetuate the conflicts that play throughout the city. Once we can step into humanizing these people, we can begin to imagine strategies that help bring stability to the lives of all Pomonans and allow folks to maintain their dignity and respect while on the streets. I hope to continue this conversation with you all, and we'll be reaching out over the coming weeks and months to meet directly. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Speaker. Do we have any other speakers this evening who would like to speak? Okay, I see no other hands raised, Mayor. We can proceed with the meeting.
Okay, yeah, I'm not seeing any hands as well. Okay, thank you for those who participated in public comment. Let's go ahead and move on to the next item. Roseanne.
Next item is consent calendar. All matters under the consent calendar may be enacted by a single motion without separate discussion. If discussion or a separate vote on any item is desired by a council member, that item may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. All consent items pulled for discussion will be limited to 5 minutes. If they are not enacted upon within 5 minutes, the mayor will move that consent item to the end of the agenda after consideration of the public hearings. Any motion relating to an ordinance or a resolution shall also waive the reading of the ordinance or resolution and include its introduction or adoption as appropriate. And this evening, we do have one emailed comment for item number 8.
Okay, number 8. Okay, thank you, Rosalia. Are there any council members who wish to pull an item from items 1 through 9? We'll go ahead and pull 8. We'll hear the comment, and then we'll vote on it unless there's additional comment by the council.
Number 2.
Yes, Vice Mayor Lustro.
Mr. Mayor, just item number 4, just for a comment.
Okay. All right.
Number 2, sir.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull item 2, 4, and 8. And I ask for that for a motion to approve 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion to move the balance.
Okay, so I have a motion by Vice Mayor Lestro. I have a second by Councilmember Garcia. Roll call votes, Rosalia?
Roll call. Nolte?
Aye. Yes.
Preciado?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole?
Yeah.
Honorable Cole said yes. Vice Mayor Lestro?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Sandoval?
Yes. All righty. Let's go ahead and bring up agenda item 2. And who is it that requested that we discuss item 2? Okay. Do you want to go ahead and read it, Rosalia, and then Councilmember Andres Cole can weigh in, and then we can go ahead and move forward?
Yes. Item number 2 is the second reading and adoption of ordinance adding Division 3 wireless facilities and right-of-way to the Pomona City Code, Chapter 46, Article 4.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Andres Cole, you were on.
It's just a comment, Mayor. Thank you. No, I'm basically, I'm just still not satisfied because of the city does not know how many permit applications for this wireless facility will receive annually. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion on agenda item 2?
I'll move the item.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, everyone, for your enthusiasm. I appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and move to a roll call vote.
T?
Aye.
Preciado?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole?
No.
Lustro?
Yes.
Torres?
No.
Sandoval?
Yes. All righty, let's go ahead and move on to the, I believe it's agenda item 4. Want to read that one?
Will do. Item number 4 is award of landscape maintenance contract to Merchants Landscaping Services, Inc.
Okay, and was it you, Vice Mayor Lestro?
It was. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a real quick comments. While I'm anxious to move forward with a different landscape contractor for the maintenance of the common areas, it was I'm somewhat disappointed but not surprised that the oversight committee for the assessment district is recommending frequency level C, which is the lowest frequency level for services. This is as a result of a limited amount of funds and the failure in 2019 of the community to try to bring the assessment fees up to what they should be after over 25 years. So I'm hoping that if this item passes, that this company will do the best that they can with the limited amount of funds that they have. And I think the community still needs to look forward to a reduction in the frequency of service to many areas of the community. But that's what they voted for in 2019. So I'm hoping that the company will do as well as they can, and we'll see where it goes. With that, I will move the item.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor Lestro. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All righty. Councilmember Preciado enthusiastically beat you to the punch there, Councilmember Garcia. All right, let's go ahead and move to the roll call.
Nolte,
Yes.
Preciado,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole,
Yes.
Castro,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes, and I just want to point out, Councilmember Nolte, you can always say aye or nay if you so choose. Okay. All right. There's no group think here. You do what you're most comfortable with. Okay. All right. Let's go and move on to item 8. If you'll read that, and I think we have one speaker on that item. Is that correct?
We do.
Okay.
Item
All
number
right. Go ahead.
I have a comment on that too.
Okay. All right.
Item number 8 is the adoption of a resolution expressing support for actions to further strengthen local democracy, authority, and control as related to local zoning and housing matters. I'll go ahead and read the email comment now. Email comment is from Hank Fung. Dear Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, I oppose this resolution as the proponents of the so-called California Cities for Local Control are using cities like Pomona as cover for their agenda to oppose the necessary homes needed to house all Californians. The founder of the group is a councilman from Torrance, a city which is trying to reject the development of thousands of needed homes, the majority of which are affordable in their community. Per their list, the majority of the cities in this coalition are affluent cities like Palo Alto, Villa Park, Beverly Hills, Rolling Hills, and Yorba Linda. Pomona made a brave move to support option 2 of the SCAG, RH, and A options, which fairly distributes the state mandated housing goals among all cities, coastal and inland, rich and working class. These laws were elected by our duly elected state legislators and signed by a governor which Pomona overwhelmingly supported. We should think carefully before signing on to a rich city's agenda that Pomona might not agree with, or which may shift the impacts of what they don't want onto Pomona. And that was the only comment, Mayor.
Thank you, Rosalie. And I understand Councilmember Nolte would like to make a comment.
Yeah, I actually agree with Mr. Fung, and he was much more articulate than I could be, but and I hadn't frankly researched where this came from, but I could kind of smell it in the background. While I do think that local control is important in many cases, I think particularly with respect to housing, we're finding that, there's basically the not in my backyard effect that's preventing a lot of, what the state needs to do on a statewide basis. And so some of the things, like the thing that came to my mind was the accessory dwelling units ordinance, which, impinged on our rights to some extent, but also really was needed and it is something that is going to be valuable in terms of increasing housing stock, which is, beneficial to everybody, especially, lower income people if we have more supply. So I oppose this resolution for that reason.
Thank you, Councilman Rosie. I do as well. I don't want to echo what Mr. Fung said. I think he captured it very well. I think you did as well, Councilman Nolte. I obviously can appreciate the desire for cities to have local control. I completely get that. And in fact, there are numerous instances where this is the case, where cities really feel challenged as a result of state decisions. I think, but as it pertains to housing, I think given the crisis that we find ourselves under, that, well, I certainly can appreciate the concern that cities do have with the state decisions that have been made. I can't support this particular resolution, but we wanted to make sure that we gave you an opportunity to at least give it some consideration, so that we decided to wait. If we decided to say yes, this certainly would help their cause. But I can't support it as is, and so I'm with you, Councilmember Nolte. Is there anyone else from the council who would like to speak on this item before we move forward? Councilmember Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that this, for someone of my background, my parents are blue collar workers. I'm a first generation college student. This is hard to understand and to accept, because do we need housing? Yes. But the neighborhoods that are impacted by regulations like this are neighborhoods like mine. I recently found out when I came onto council that even though my neighborhood are a bunch of 1952 tract ranch homes from post-war years, we're currently zoned for multiple housing. That means that at any time, someone could just start buying up my neighborhood and build apartments and displace many people who want to have homes. We're holding on to our family home as long as we can. But when we talk about the state, doing things that without cities knowing, I think that turning an R1 residential zone into an R2 residential zone, forgive me, Director Gutierrez, if I get my zoning incorrect. I think that that's what bothers me the most about state coming in here. These are established traditional neighborhoods, and they have the potential to be destroyed. So while I appreciate what Mr. Fong says, and I appreciate what Councilmember Nolte says, I even appreciate what the letter says, it leaves many of us in this, where do we go? What is the best solution for this type of mentality? So at this time, I'll side with the mayor and Councilmember Nolte, but it is difficult to understand exactly where it leaves neighborhoods, working class neighborhoods like mine. And I just wanted to make that clear, but thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia. And Vice Mayor Lustro, I know you wanted to speak, and then Councilmember Preciado.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I'll just keep it kind of just simple without reading too much into this. For somebody who worked in local government for 25 years, and particularly on the community development side, I saw plenty of examples where the cities that I worked for and other local cities had to comply with a one-size-fits-all mentality that the state would pass down to us without giving us any measure of local control to be able to best control development in the communities that we knew best, not that Sacramento knew best. And so the purpose of me suggesting that this be placed on the agenda tonight was simply that, is that the folks who live and work in this city know what's best for Pomona, not people that are 500 miles away. And the goal being is that that the control as best as possible be placed with the local governments rather than with state government. There are some things that the state is always going to control that we are not going to have control over, and I totally understand that. But particularly for land use regulations and the like, I think that we're best equipped to be able to determine our community's fate and what is best for our communities, and not state legislators. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Lustro. I'm going to go ahead and have Councilmember Preciado weigh in and then call for the vote.
I'll be quick. I just want to echo some of the same frustrations. I feel like we were really getting into the groove of updating a lot of our general plan and our zoning for the entire city, and this kind of tied our hands and isn't going to allow us to make some changes that we could have possibly recommended. And then just thanks to the development services team who has taught me about overlays, zoning, R1 through 6, and everything of the sorts. So I just wanted to express some of those frustrations as well.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, Rosalie, if you'll go ahead and, well, actually there needs to be a motion. A yay or nay on this. So I'm going to motion to not support this resolution. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
Roll call, Nolte?
No.
Preciado?
Well, actually, hold on. Let's make sure, so the motion was
to not support it.
Not support it. So I am saying yes to not supporting it.
Oh.
So it should be yes if you don't. That's one of those confusing things, but yes to not support it.
Okay, make sure now. Let's make sure.
So I guess to make it a little bit easier for all, not adopting the proposed resolution that's on the agenda.
Correct.
Yes, okay. So Nolte,
All right.
Yes.
Preciado,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole,
Yes.
Lustro,
No.
Torres,
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes. All righty. Thank you for that. That could have been very confusing. Thank you for clarifying that, Councilmember Nolte. All right, let's go ahead and move on to. I think we're past consent here now, right? Consent
Yes.
calendar. Okay.
Yes.
And what I've asked to move up the hero pay item and go from there. I know we have speakers on that item, and I know that our city attorney has just an overview. This is a conversation that we've had previously before, but I certainly wanted to give our city attorney just to give us an overview of where we're at and the decision before you. But do you want to go ahead and read it, Rosalia?
Will do. This is the introduction and adoption of a proposed urgency ordinance requiring hero pay for frontline retail store employees within the city of Pomona.
Okay. We do have public comment. Before we do take public comment, Sonia, can I ask you just to give us a brief overview? I'm sure the council may have questions. I know we've discussed this before. There's been certainly some new developments that have happened over the course of our initial conversation, and we have this before us. So could I ask you to do that, please?
Yes, so Mayor and Council, I also wanted to let you know that we have our associate Henry Castillo available as well. Henry's been involved in helping us prepare this document. The urgency ordinance that's before you came at the request of the City Council. It was not staff initiated, but we did move forward and prepare it for your consideration. The ordinance would require the payment of an additional $4 per hour to employees who work for the retailers as defined in the ordinance. And this would take effect for 120 days after the ordinance goes into effect. The details and the specifics are in the ordinance. I can go through them now or just kind of give you a brief overview at this point. As currently drafted, the ordinance would apply to retail locations such as the Home Depot and Target based on the definitions that we've included. Also, we had held off a little bit on adopting this ordinance because we were waiting to see the outcome of litigation that had been filed in the city of Long Beach. And last week, a judge did not uphold the challenge by the California Grocers Association, who had filed a lawsuit against the city. So at this time, I do not have information as to whether the association intends to appeal or not. But each of the arguments that they had raised in that case were not granted. And so therefore, the judge has ruled that the Long Beach ordinance can remain in effect. So I'm happy to answer any detailed questions that you may have about this. This is really an issue of policy for the City Council to decide, and we'll be available to answer any questions.
Councilor, thank you so much. I'm going to ask that we get public input on this item and then ask the council to weigh in. So I understand that we have several speakers. Rosalia?
We currently have, looks like three speakers who would like to publicly speak.
Okay.
But I can go ahead and read the email comments first.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead yourself.
So first email comment comes from Maisha Carter. Hi, my name is Maisha Carter. I'm a member of UFCW Local 1428, and I'm a 25-year employee for Stater Brothers in Pomona, California on Alvarado. I'm asking the city to make our employer pay us hazard pay. We have been on the front lines since the beginning of this pandemic, risking our lives to make sure our community gets their groceries. We have been put in situations that were dangerous, work long hours of overtime, and even no days off to serve our beautiful city of Pomona. We deserve some type of compensation for our continued dedicated service. We ask you to make that become a reality. Thank you. Next comment from Jacqueline Escobar. Assemblymember Freddie Rodriguez would like to express his strong support for the proposed urgency ordinance requiring hero pay for frontline retail employees in Pomona. Thank you. Next speaker, Raylene Guerrero. As an essential worker, I believe that we should be paid the extra $4 for our dedication to our job. We have put aside our own health to provide for our customers every day. I feel that our help should be a lot more appreciated during this time. We may not be saving lives, but we are working hard and putting our own lives at risk every day, and we show up for our minimum wage job. Next comment is from Andre Flores. I'm a resident of Pomona, and I've been with CVS in Pomona for 7 years. I'm speaking for myself and some coworkers that are not able to log into this meeting today as we have to be at work at the time of this meeting. We have been working nonstop for the city of Pomona, helping all of its residents to a better health since the start of COVID. We have been doing COVID testing for everyone in the county and are now doing COVID vaccines. 7 coworkers, including myself, tested positive for COVID since we are in the front lines dealing with those that are sick. If this hero pay passes, we will have something to look forward to each day, as this will not be a solution to the problem, but a bright light and push for us here at work. Thank you for your time. Next comment is from Victoria and Anthony Murakami. Grocery workers deserve the $5 hero pay increase. Every day they're risking their lives and exposure to COVID-19 to meet high demands during this pandemic. As many are out sick or not working right now, those who are working are often left with longer and much busier hours, increasing risk of exposure to themselves, their children, and elder family members who can easily fall victim to the virus. My mom works for Food for Less, and as much as she'd rather stay home with her 6 kids while staying safe from the virus, she shows up and attends work every day. Grocery workers are at higher risk than most due to increase in customers. Grocery stores are receiving and the uncooperative citizens who don't follow guidelines to stay home if positive with the virus. Then there's also customers who refuse to wear a mask and still enter the store. Yet with all the risks grocery workers face, they're still showing up and working. The least we can do is give them the $5 hero pay increase for their hard work, while many people are receiving more money than them through unemployment insurance and not working. Next comment from Jennifer Castaneda. Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I'm speaking for our pharmacy team and the front store. I work in both departments. I believe we deserve heroes pay for everything that is going on with this pandemic. I feel like we are all stressed out and overloaded with dealing with customers. Every day I have to remind customers to wear their mask and wear it appropriately. Some customers don't want to wear their mask. We deal with drunk and homeless customers who refuse to wear a mask. We are all afraid, even though we have a plexiglass to stop the spread. Customers still go around the plexiglass. When helping customers, they still don't stay 6 feet away. I do ask kindly to step back. Customers get mad and curse at me. Customers say uncomfortable things like COVID is not real. I've had family members already get COVID. I come to work scared. We all work hard and deserve heroes pay. With heroes pay, this will really ease our stress. Yes, on heroes pay. Thank you. Next comment from Joanna Hogan. I'm emailing in regards of us essential workers who work the front line of our grocery stores. With holidays over and hours being cut on top of having to be sent home unnecessarily due to a rise of temperature. Some of us, maybe most of us, are financially struggling. Some of us do live paycheck to paycheck, and because we are loyal to our company, we do not seek jobs elsewhere. We have families and children who need and depend on us. Hero pay would be so wonderful for all of us hardworking essential workers who go above and beyond for our customers and livelihood. Thank you for your time. Next comment from Jose Bello. Good evening. To those who listen to this message, I'd like to give you an idea and understand what I've gone through while working in the pharmacy department during the ongoing pandemic. I've had to deal with customers who at times refuse to wear masks. I've helped customers who show COVID-19 symptoms find OTC medications to relieve them. It has been a stressful work environment, and the anxiety of introducing the virus to my family at home has been a nightmare. An increase in pay will be appreciated as a reward for what I have endured and will continue to endure as the pandemic continues. Thank you. Next comment from Chris Endell. I'm a grocery worker working for Vons. I have been on the front lines of this pandemic since day one. We as grocery workers are putting not only our lives, but also the lives of our spouses, children, and loved ones to keep our stores clean, stocked, and safe for our customers who need our services every day. Our companies have made millions on this national crisis, and all stores remain open regular hours to date. We still see 100% of customers daily. We should be able to have hazard pay made available to us. Those heroes who make sure that all the essentials of our customers are available every day and who work tirelessly to make sure our stores are clean and safe. Next comment from Lupita Villegas. Hello, I'm an employee at the CVS 8787 store. I believe our team really deserves the raise. We have been currently working long hours and distributing the vaccine and even working extra hours in the front store. We also had an incident in the past where 5 employees tested positive at once. Fortunately, they are all well now. However, the raise would help a lot of us to be able to take care of our families, since many of us rely on this job as a primary income. Next comment from Monica Mineto. My name is Monica Mineto, and I work for CVS Pharmacy in Pomona. I'm part of the union UFCW 1428. I would like to take the time to thank you all for your hard work during this pandemic and for addressing this matter. As a retail worker and a frontline worker, I have experienced the struggles of not just the employees, but patients too. Because we form bonds to the customers who come to the store, we learned about the struggles during the pandemic. Luckily, we started offering free deliveries for their medications to their homes, but sadly, not all the medications are eligible to send out. Things like controlled substances and refrigerated items are not available to ship out, thus prompting those people to come into the store. Most of them are elderly who are at risk. We do our best to help them, but unfortunately, it is not enough. Anywho, because we live through our struggles and the struggles of others, putting themselves and us at risk, we deserve heroes pay. We are working hard every day to make it more convenient and safer for others to be able to continue living normal lives, but we also put ourselves at risk by doing so. We try our best to protect ourselves and others, but it is very difficult during this time. We ask for more because we deserve more. Thank you all for your help on this subject. Next comment from Victoria Anderson. I am a union worker for a grocery store. I've been working nonstop through the COVID-19 pandemic. Day after day, I've risked my health and safety, not to mention my family's safety, taking care of our customers. Some careless customers who refuse to wear their masks. Some who would just hang out during the lockdown because we were the only place open, and they would laugh about it. I have young children and I can't even hug them as soon as I get home. So please tell me that that is not a hero. Next comment from Precious Fukua. Good evening, my name is Precious and I'm an essential worker. And I think that the grocery working should get the hero pay. We deserve the hero pay because we put our lives online for other people. Also, we're putting our lives and family lives at risk. Next comment from Michelle Arias. Hello, my name is Michelle. I work as your friendly pharmacy technician at the CVS in North Pomona off of Town and Foothill. I'm writing today to encourage the approval of hero pay. On behalf of my team and the rest of the extraordinary heroes who've stepped up and kept clocking in each shift in the midst of the pandemic, I absolutely believe that we've risked our health to keep the opportunity for you and everyone else with access to continuously collecting necessary medications and other life necessities to have well-being. I have 3 very young children at home and I feared every day I went into work. Will I bring home this life-threatening virus to my own family, all because I've decided to help the lives of others? Our jobs are not designed to work in the comfort of our own homes like many other jobs out there. Currently, we are suffering with major hour cuts within the company and constantly having to replenish our own PPE and sanitation for my car from the ride home after my shift and home for over a year now. It's getting very pricey, and unlike many other generous companies, ours has chosen not to continue with honoring us with hero pay compensation. And the final email comment is from Rosenda Perez. I want to pass the hero pay. And that was the final comment, email comment. Okay, we'll go on to the verbal comments. First comment from Mike Ramos. Go ahead and unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. My name is Mark Ramos, President of USCW Local 1428, and I am just here listening to the comments from our members who are on the front lines, putting in this important work every day, and I am just I'm just so moved. Our members sharing these stories with you, their struggles every day, that I'm enormously touched by their dedication to their profession. Look, yes, the vaccine is here, but folks have to remember that there are variants, and I was just reading something today that even though the vaccines are here, we are not in the clear that we could very much be in for another very rough patch. My worry becomes as people get vaccinated, that they begin to let their guard down and go into these retail sites and expose more folks to the coronavirus, and folks end up getting sick. We have, in our union stores in the city of Pomona, over 40% of our members have been infected with the coronavirus, some severely sick. Our members have stood up every day just to do this job, to make sure that our communities have what they need. This is not a permanent ordinance. It's only for 120 days. We are asking for your support. I encourage a yes vote. Mr. Mayor and Council, if there was a way to make one small change in the ordinance, section 3804, point A, if there was a way to change that from 15 workers to 10 workers, that would be tremendously greatly appreciated, I should say. And the fact that some of the small pharmacies don't have a lot of employees in the store. They're still doing the work, and they're still vaccinating folks, but they don't always necessarily have a lot of folks in the store. So the tin offers a nice safe layer of protection to make sure that if an employer decides to dip below the 15, that those folks would still receive compensation. So I encourage you, and I want to thank you for taking up this ordinance. It is greatly appreciated on behalf of myself and all of the members of Local 1428, and we appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker is Glenda Barrias. Ms. Barrias, go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes. Speaker, are you there? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, staff, and the people that live and work in Pomona. First off, I wanted to start by saying thank you for supporting the resolution that made tonight's ordinance possible. It gave me hope for the working class people of the city. However, that was the first step. Tonight, I am counting on each of you to continue to stand for essential workers, the very people that kept our communities fed and safe during this difficult time. You have heard from many of the grocery workers and people in the pharmacies tonight, and their stories are quite touching. And I can only imagine what most of the people living in the city must be thinking to hear all of these people coming forward for the first time with their stories, because these working class people are so often, in the background. And I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, people were so quick to say thank you to our essential workers. But now, as we are now a year into this, they have since been, I don't want to say forgotten, but they're no longer at the forefront of people's minds. So, with that in mind, the pandemic is definitely not over yet. And our working people deserve to be compensated for the work that they are doing because they have earned it. So please support this Hero Pay ordinance. They would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Ethel Mays. Go ahead, Speaker. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, Pomona Mayor, City Council members, and members of the staff. My name is Eva Mays, and I am a field deputy representing Supervisor Hilda Solis, Chair of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, who strongly supports the adoption of Ordinance Number 4300, a proposed urgency ordinance requiring hero pay for frontline retail store employees within the city of Pomona. Since the pandemic started, many retail and grocery workers had to go out and work in very hazardous and dangerous environments. Every day they are getting exposed to COVID-19. This not only harms them, but it also brings danger to their loved ones at home. Many of these workers are older adults and single parents that experience financial hardship. In many situations, they are the breadwinners of their families and have no choice but to go out and perform these jobs every day. Yet thanks to them, we are able to keep our food supply chain running and have access to medicine to our families in need. The companies and the executives they work for continue to profit from many pay bonuses and high stock prices. Yet our workers are left behind and forgotten. That is why it is in this crucial time of need, we need to stand and support UFCW Local 1428. And I ask you to please consider approving ordinance number 4300 to help give our families a fair chance of survival during this unprecedented time, and join other municipalities, including the county, that have adopted similar ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Robert Nodoff. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great. Take two here tonight. So good evening, Mayor Sandoval and members of the council. Again, my name is Rob Notoff. I'm the policy director with the Los Angeles County Federation of Labor, and we are proud to voice our support in favor of tonight's hero pay ordinance. Let's not forget, these workers are the bridge that connects us to life-saving groceries. They work so we can eat. The irony is the very heroes who allow us to put food on our tables are struggling to do the same for their own families. Rates of infection are through the roof in these industries, and that taxes the workers' healthcare benefits, creates additional financial hardship, and reduces the overall quality of life for these essential heroes. And sadly, being on the front lines has taken the lives of some of these heroes who are overwhelmingly women and workers of color. Meanwhile, the companies are making record profits. When we call these essential workers heroes, I want to underscore what that really means, to the point that all of these brave workers have already said. Every single day, these heroes are having face-to-face contact with members of the public for hours on end, heightening the risk that they too will be infected, and yet they persist. And every day, these workers have to try and ask people to properly socially distance in the shop, which doesn't always make customers happy, and yet they persist. And every day, without fail, these workers have to deal with an unruly customer or two who refuses to wear a mask, thereby putting these workers and the families that they return home to at the end of their shift at risk. And yet they still persist. These workers didn't ask to be on the front lines when they applied to be a grocery worker or a retail worker, yet nonetheless, they've served and sacrificed so that the rest of us can prosper. While we're pleased that food and ag workers are now eligible for the vaccine, and we encourage everybody to get it, we're still months away from getting that life-saving shot into the arm of every essential worker. So in the meantime, the virus continues to mutate and is becoming more deadly. And it also appears that even if you get vaccinated, it doesn't guarantee that you can't still spread the virus to others, as outlined by Councilmember Ontiveros Cole earlier today in her comments. Point being, frontline workers are going to be in the trenches for several more months to come. So the choice on how to proceed is obvious. We now know that the city has the legal authority to proceed with hero pay. Now it's time for the city to exercise its moral authority to protect these frontline heroes by voting yes on item 14 and rewarding them with pay that proves beyond words that they are in fact heroes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker. And our next speaker, if you can please state your name. It's a caller on 909-631-6773. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Hello. I'm just curious about why would you think that these essential workers deserve any hero pay? I don't know if you heard it in the news, but they say that frontline medical cannabis retail workers are entitled to the vaccine even before teachers. And that's because they say that these cannabis workers are essential workers. I just want to remind you that I was a cannabis worker, and the reception that I got from the city of Pomona did not indicate that they thought that I was an essential worker. So you've heard from all of the people who say that they're essential workers for the grocery stores, all say they want more money, and I can't blame it. If you were to have any other organized crime group come in there, they could probably get all their members to say that they deserve something also. I think we tried that back in 2006 with the marijuana issue. But you know, you don't have to listen to them. I wouldn't listen to them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even have enough brains to figure out how to negotiate with their employers themselves. They're a waste of human flesh. I wouldn't give them up to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker. And that was the final speaker this evening, Mayor.
Thank you, Rosalia. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to give the council an opportunity to weigh in, share their thoughts, and if they have any specific questions for our legal team, they could ask at this time. Would anyone from the council like to start us off? Yes, Councilman Ontiveros.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I want to thank Assembly Freddy Rodriguez for his letter to the city of Pomona and to address this issue to our fullest attention, bringing our staff, our city manager, for a special meeting and bringing this now as an agenda item. Pomona's hero pay for the frontline retailers, I believe, has been long overdue. These people have sacrificed their lives, their families' lives. They have been basically accepted as someone that needs to come to work, needs to accommodate us with no really regard for their health. And so, having that said, I believe in my professional capacity as a nurse, and I am still nursing. I am administering vaccinations at Disneyland and at the Anaheim Convention Center when I'm not wearing my council hat. And this is a very important situation, and I'm very pleased that we finally brought this to an item. For them to basically, I mean, can you imagine them going to work for a year now, stressed out, wondering if they're going to have any type of illness at all? And maybe many of them have, and from what Mr. Ramos has mentioned, 40% have. That's saying a lot. So I'm glad that we are up tonight with this agenda item, for them to have the right to premium pay, for them to be able to maybe relax a little bit about it. I know it's only 120 days, but I think it's time, and I approve this item. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go with Councilmember Torres and then Councilmember Nolte. You're on, Mr. Torres.
Yes, thank you. My question is for the city staff. The last time we discussed raising hourly wages for essential workers, it was, I believe, back in 2017 or 18, when we discussed raising the hourly pay for hospital workers at the Pomona Valley Medical Center. And during those meetings, we had a couple of meetings, the city provided the city council with an economic impact report. Just curious as to, given that we are facing similar circumstances here, what was the rationale and idea behind not providing an economic impact report in this particular ordinance?
Councilmember Torres, I just think it was a timely issue. We were trying to get this ordinance in front of the council in a timely issue, in a timely fashion, and we didn't have time to do that analysis.
How long does it normally take to provide that impact report, just for future reference?
I think that could take some time in investigating the retail market. And, that's not an area that we have a lot of expertise in. So, 4 to 6 weeks probably.
Okay. The reason why I bring it up is because in the future, I hope the city council remains consistent in their approval process and their policies, because we also have other workers that are asking for pay increases. We're talking about city workers. We're even talking about police. We're even talking about firefighters, hospital workers. There are many frontline workers here in the city of Pomona. And if any member of the city council in the future would like to pursue raising pay for any one of those groups, I would hope that the city council remains consistent in those policies and in the approval process, because I know that it's been different for other folks in the past. Now, the last thing I want to finish with is, did you say that this ordinance here would last for how many days? 120 days? And after 120 days, does it expire, or does it come back for council to acknowledge the expiration? Will council be asked in the future to, how would I say it, extend the 120 days?
That would be entirely up to the council. The term is drafted as for 120 days.
Okay, I'm just curious, why was the 120 days selected? What was the rationale behind that?
When the city council decided to adopt the resolution that was in support of this, we were directed to take a look at what the other cities were doing. And at the time, we had as a model the city of Long Beach. And so we used some of the terms from that agreement, from that ordinance, and incorporated them into the proposed ordinance that you have before you.
Okay, those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
John, if it's okay, because I do just want to clarify something, because Councilmember Torres raised the issue about other entities, and you mentioned a reference to a past council decision regarding the hospital. Sonia, just so we're clear here, this is not a permanent pay raise for grocery workers, for frontline workers. This is not, if we increase it by $4, it's for a specific period of time. Is that correct?
Correct. And it's based on the existence of the pandemic only. You're using that as the urgency basis. And you are tying it, and you're showing a nexus between the impacts of that pandemic and the impacts on these types of workers.
So to be clear, that wasn't the decision that the council was being asked to make back in 2017. So we just need to be clear about that. Second, we also, the comment has been made about city employees as well. What about them? Let's be clear that we're also talking about an industry that has profited in billions of dollars. This is not the case of the city as it relates to our own current situation. So let's be clear about that. One of the things I do want to ask the city council is I want you all to think about how critical or how important it is when you go to your supermarket or your grocery store. Think about the people that you see and you come across every time you go, and the people that you get to know who are working on the front lines and who are there however many hours they work to make sure that we have access to essential items for our own very survival. I can tell you, I go to the Stater Brothers, which is nearest my home, and I've gotten to know a number of the employees. And I have to tell you, it's been a challenge, a tremendous challenge for these employees. So I don't want that to be lost here, is that these are people who are working on the front lines, and early on, we're being asked under very adverse circumstances to work to make sure that we have the necessities so that we could live and survive. And so I just wanted to emphasize that point, and I want to just express my thanks to them for their sacrifice and their work and their dedication. I can tell you that I see it when I go and I visit the market, and it has not been easy. It has not been a very easy situation for them. And this is really what this is about. This is a temporary decision that involves 120 days. This is not a permanent decision. We recognize the importance of these establishments in our community. And I just wanted to state that. Now, Councilmember Nolte, I know you had your hand up, as do you, Vice Mayor Lustro. So I'll go ahead and go with you, Councilmember Nolte. I'll have more to say in a moment.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to emphasize that I'm fully support this ordinance, and I wanted to just quote a little bit from the purpose of the ordinance that's in the ordinance, and then comment on that. The purpose of the ordinance starts out with that as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, this ordinance aims to protect and promote the public health, safety, and welfare during the new coronavirus emergency. And then I'm going to skip to the last sentence, not that the rest isn't important, but it says the provision of premium pay better ensures the retention of these essential workers who are on the front lines of this pandemic, providing essential services, and who are needed throughout the duration of the COVID-19 emergency. As such, they are deserving of fair and equitable compensation for their work. I think that, you know, the people who spoke in public comment and the mayor just now have eloquently expressed how these workers deserve this pay. I want to take a little bit of time to emphasize a few reasons why I think that the public health and safety is benefited by premium pay. Just to give a few examples. One of the people in the public comment said, because we're loyal, we do not seek jobs elsewhere. I think that's a quote from somebody. I think that's a critical phrase because, you know, these are people who, given the difficulty of their circumstances, may very well stop working or you know, decide that it's not worth it anymore. And especially as long as this is going on, I'm sure that I appreciate that loyalty and I honor it, but it's going to be tested the longer that this goes on. And when you honor people's work by paying them more, you increase the likelihood that that loyalty will continue and that they will continue on the job. I think that that's critical because it's really important to have people in the stores who understand safety regulations, who have lived through this pandemic for a year, who know how to deal with the public. If we have people leaving this profession and then we have to hire new people, retrain them right in the middle of this most dangerous of times, we endanger the public because we have people who don't know how to handle the person who comes in without the mask. Like I would, you know, I would just retreat into the back somewhere, you know, but these are people who have the experience of how do you deal with these kinds of health situations. We need to keep them on the job. They have experiences with shortages and what that does to the public and how to, you know, help us get through those kinds of things. And to think that, you know, we're completely out of the woods now and that couldn't happen again. I mean, again, with these variants and I mean, if anybody thinks that they've learned anything from 2020 besides the fact that we can't tell what things will be like a month from now, I think we need to, you know, keep that in mind. And having people that are experienced is very important. They talked also about relieving stress in their lives. And I want to just bring that up as something that's critical, not only to their health, but to the health of their families. You know, having additional pay in their lives will give them the ability to take better care of their own families, of their spouses and children, including with regard to things that are related to the pandemic. If you have a little bit of extra funds, you can afford to have your own things delivered as opposed to having to go out to stores. Now, and I mean, you know, granted they're in stores all day, but if they've got to go out even more, they're exposing themselves. They can provide more recreation for their families in ways that are safe. So with additional pay, they keep their families safe. That keeps our community safe as well. I want to say also that you know, I fully believe that these next 4 months are critical. If anything, you know, they're some of the most critical as we're getting this vaccine out of any time that we've been in up until now. And I think if you listen to Dr. Fauci, I think he's just trying to scream that at us that, you know, it feels like things are better, but it's exactly at this time when things feel better that we need to double down on our safety protocols and keeping ourselves safe and having people in our stores, these critical nexuses where the virus can spread, who are experienced and who can keep us safe in that way, and giving them the pay that they need to stay in their jobs is critical at this moment. So, you know, who would blame them, any of them, for, you know, giving up at this critical time and saying, you know, I've been doing this a year, but if we include additional pay, I think we're going to keep them around. We'll give them that, you know, shot in the arm to, you know, that will keep them in their jobs. So I just want to say that I think that, you know, while they absolutely deserve it, we absolutely need to do this in order to protect our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Nolte. I'm going to go with Vice Mayor Lustro and then to Councilmember Preciado.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm certainly as appreciative as my colleagues of all of the frontline workers that have risked their health over the past year to provide us with essential services, along with the entire population of the community. A couple of questions for the city attorney. The staff report indicates that there are at least 6 other cities that have been sued for adopting similar ordinances to what we're looking at tonight. Can we reasonably, and I know I'm asking you to look into your crystal ball, can we reasonably expect to be sued for adoption of this ordinance as the other cities have?
Councilmember, you know, I can't provide you with every element of legal advice in public, but I can say that one of the reasons that the city opted to go with the resolution was a wait and see to see how the City of Long Beach ordinance was treated by the court. And we know that as of last week, the federal judge upheld the City of Long Beach's ordinance, which our ordinance is based upon, and also has spoken on this issue. So we did receive communication from the California Grocers Association, from their law firm, but I think we have to take that wait and see approach. I mean, this judge has spoken. We are also in Los Angeles County, so we'd have to see how that goes. And as I mentioned when I first commented on this, I'm not aware of what their plans are at this point, whether they plan to appeal that Long Beach decision or not. But that was what we were going to wait and see. And so I think we always have to evaluate our risks. And in this case, at least we have a judge that has blessed this other ordinance.
Okay, and did I, and I apologize if I misread what was written in the report. It said something about the judge indicating that there was a lack of, and if I'm choosing the wrong words, I apologize, a lack of a nexus to a rational basis for accomplishing a legitimate municipal purpose in that ordinance. Now, was that the ordinance itself, or was it that the 120 days that the ordinance would last?
I believe it was the 120 days and trying to understand that. That was one of the issues. This staff report, and I would have to ask Mr. Gu for clarification, but I believe the staff report was drafted and was released prior to the final decision from the court.
Okay.
I do believe that's correct. I think we finalized the staff report working with Mr. Castillo Thursday afternoon. So if an opinion wasn't released prior to that, then that's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for that. My only concerns with this go toward the possibility of being sued, which we can certainly we can ill afford, and the other issue being is that we're and Councilmember Torres alluded to it a little bit earlier is meddling in the private sector. I'm concerned that's a slippery slope. I hope I'm wrong, because certainly I agree that the folks that have put their health on the line during this time certainly are worthy of hero pay. But I have those additional concerns as we move forward with this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Lestro. I'm going to go to Councilmember Preciado and to Councilmember Garcia.
I'm going to start off by saying, like, my comment is not going to be directed at any one person. I just think, I wish we could give a raise to everybody during this time, every single person in the United States. This pandemic has just thrown us so far and abroad, and it's caused other issues, not just here, but just throughout the whole country. And I actually put the blame mainly on every single person and every single resident in the United States. We just have not had enough help, and the cities are struggling, the people are struggling, and this is, I still don't even think this is enough, being that it's a temporary help, when I know that there's a mountain of more issues that are going to be coming and being directed at us. I appreciate what we have done, and with the rental assistance, with the business assistance, and I just wanted to make sure that I said that. And I wanted to say thank you to the cities that have passed it and have faced, potential litigation, because those cities and the more cities that sign on, it's just going to make our case stronger as we continue to look after for our residents, and we appreciate them very much. As far as I see on the chat, as far as the going from 15 to 10, to me, that's fine with me. And those are all my comments, Mayor.
And Mayor, if I could just add one last thing into our record, because as the council knows, when we adopt an urgency ordinance, we have to make findings as to why it's important, why it's an emergency. I wanted to thank Councilmember Nolte for doing that earlier as he reviewed the purpose statement. But one of the other things that you've touched on this evening is the other rationale as to why you would be adopting this in terms of significant profits that the grocers have experienced during the pandemic. And so I just would like to mention that in the court decision for Long Beach, they did note that that was an important factor. So I just wanted to enter into our record that there are reports out there that indicate that the grocers have grown their sales and their profits significantly. And that while we might have some stores that struggle in some communities, that is not the common experience. And so then another reason for adopting this that you have touched upon, but I wanted to make sure that we have it in our record, is that the grocers are experiencing enormous profits at this time.
Thank you, Sonia. Nora, you're up. I'm sorry, Councilmember Garcia, you are up. You may have started already speaking. I stepped away for 1 second. Okay,
No,
go
sir.
ahead.
I want to echo my fellow council member Victor Preciado's comments. If it was in my power to give every single person who has had to go to work during this year a raise, I would do it. My brothers are essential workers. I have the privilege of teaching on a computer all day. But when you are being asked by your employer to provide your own PPE, when my brother checks with me to see if his employer is allowed to ask him to wash and reuse the gloves that he has because he doesn't want to have to go out and find another box, that right there is ridiculous to me. And I understand the economic impact that this has had on smaller companies and businesses, but we're talking about companies who can't even be bothered to appreciate the work that their employees have done for them to allow them to get these massive profits. And there are massive profits because everyone's at home making sourdough bread and pasta and all sorts of other things. So I find it, I can appreciate that everyone's trying to protect their bottom line, but at the end of the day, the bottom line for an individual is the safety and health of their family. And you can't do that if you have to choose between keeping them healthy and keeping them fed. From many of the CVS employees, I heard loud and clear, we are struggling financially because of lost hours, increased hours, cut pay, all sorts of things that are happening, and I just don't think it's right. And so I support our hero pay, and I would ask Mayor that we move forward with this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I do see, Councilmember Torres, you have your hand up. I don't know if you just didn't take it down or if you still want to speak. So please feel free to go, okay?
Yes, thank you. You know, another question I just realized for the city staff is, you know, one thing I noticed is that, you know, first things first, I want to just reiterate to the community that I did support and vote for the first half of this ordinance. And I strongly, you know, reiterate many of the comments that the council has made regarding hero pay and you know, how much we really appreciate essential workers. There's no doubt about that. But one thing I have noticed is as cities introduce these policies throughout the region that, you know, unfortunately, you know, we've seen job losses and store closures. And that's been really unfortunate and something that I strongly oppose. So, you know, my question, just to get an idea for the city, is as this ordinance affects the certain businesses in the city, how much revenue and how many jobs, good quality jobs, potentially can the city lose in the event that, let's just say the big grocery stores decide to take a similar approach like they've done in Montebello and Long Beach?
I guess
I'm sorry, James, I interrupted. Did you want to go first, or I was going to ask Sonia if you want to weigh in? And then I kind of understand the Long Beach situation a little bit, but I'm happy to, Sonia, if you want to go first, and then James.
I would defer to the city manager, as I believe you might have done some analysis of the stores that are impacted in the city.
I think based on what we've learned through the news and everything, that there is, a chance that our Food for Less store could be affected because Kroger has shut down a few different stores, Food for Less and Ralph's, and a few other communities that have adopted similar ordinances. That could be a risk for us.
So, when I asked for the economic impact report, one thing I realized is not only do I ask just to be consistent down the line, right? Because I'm not sure how long, whether the pandemic, according to the city council, will last 120 days or longer. But in addition to that is trying to be able to answer some of these questions. How many good paying jobs are at stake here? How much revenue is city potentially could lose here if, big business decides to take a different route. And I'm not saying that it's all about revenue. I just want to be mindful that this is the approach that business has taken and something that the city council should consider. And had we have these economic reports in, I would be able to understand some of these questions better. And I'll be able to answer them as they come up to the community. So in the future, if we're going to continue to pursue policies like this, I would ask that we can, answer these questions in detail so that when it comes up from the public, I could answer them. Thank you.
I think that's a fair assessment, but as we remember, we have a urgency ordinance here that we're trying to adopt because of the urgent matter that we see this as. So it kind of limits our ability to do some of that analysis that we might have.
Yeah, I understand that, city manager. And let's just say, for example, the city council did, let's just say the spikes in the infection rates began to peak after 120 days, and the city council decided that the COVID pandemic is still taking place, and I would support the idea of extending it if under those conditions. But still, I would like to see the impact, because I think 120 days was plenty of time to prepare for that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. I do want to just briefly discuss the Long Beach situation where there were two markets that were closed. It is my understanding that with those two markets, that they were underperforming markets and that issue had been an issue for some time. So it wasn't something that just came out of nowhere. It was actually part of long before the pandemic that there were some concerns about those two stores, as I've been told with people who are very familiar with the Long Beach situation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and it wouldn't be the first time that I'm wrong. I don't know of any other store closures based on Hero Pay. Sonia, James, do you know of any others other than the two in Long Beach?
I thought there was one or two in Washington that Kroger just recently announced at some stores up there.
Okay, and so the reason I raise that is because and this is not to say that we have any in Pomona, but I have never had anybody from any of the stores ever call me, and I would imagine any of the other council members, to share their concerns about their business being underperforming. That was not the case in Long Beach. And so the basis for Kroger having closed these stores, these were things that were even being talked about long before the pandemic. And perhaps this gave them justification to do it. I find it unacceptable, but I don't want to confuse the Long Beach situation with Pomona, because it's my understanding that that all of the stores are very profitable in the city, and that there should be no basis whatsoever, even though I know that the grocers are not happy about this, and I think we all can understand why, is that that is not the current economic situation for the grocers here in our city. As it relates to the issue of employees, it is my understanding, at least for those employees who are represented, that should any store close down, that as just part of the basic collective bargaining agreement. Now, again, this is not all our stores have unions, is that the employees would be placed in some other location, other store. And so I just wanted to note that. And then just lastly, as it pertains to the 15 versus the 10, I mean, I think that's a fair amendment that I'd like to propose that was recommended by one of the speakers, that we consider changing from 15 to 10, just given some of our members who are working in pharmacies where they may not have 15, yet they are adversely impacted by COVID-19. So I think Councilmember Garcia, you had said, listen, let's go ahead and bring this to a vote. I'm going to go ahead and motion with my amendment that we change it from 15 to 10 employees and that we adopt this urgency ordinance. Can I get a second?
Second, Mayor.
Okay. Can I ask Rosalia if you'll please do a roll call vote?
Mayor, I'm wondering if, I'm sorry, I think it's an important point that retail companies have experienced, record-breaking profits during the pandemic. And I was wondering if we could add a whereas, basically just stating that, whereas retail establishments have experienced, extraordinary revenues and profits during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, I for whatever reason, I thought it was in there, but maybe it's worded differently, Councilmember?
I kept looking for it, and I didn't see it.
Okay. Sonia?
Yeah, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the council, is to we can add that recital as stated in the spirit of Councilmember Nolte's comment, along with the change to the 10 from 15.
Okay, and so I will accept your friendly amendment, Councilmember Nolte. So I will add that to my motion. And Councilmember Garcia, do you accept that as well?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, are you good with that, Councilmember Nolte?
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Roll call, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and read the title on this ordinance.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 4300, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pomona, California, amending the Pomona Municipal Code by adding Article 14 to Chapter 30 relating to frontline retail establishment employees in Pomona and establishing labor standards and requirements for hero pay for frontline retail employees in Pomona. Roll call, Nolte?
Yes.
Preciado?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole?
Yes.
Lustro?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Sandoval?
Yes. And so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you to my council colleagues, and thank you to everyone who spoke on this item. Just again to convey, for those of you who are essential workers working on the front lines, thank you. Thank you for your work. Know that we appreciate you. All right. With that, let's go back to the agenda, which is agenda item 10. Unless we have a number of speakers for another item, Rosalia, I don't anticipate we have a ton of speakers on the other items, but is there any other agenda item where we have more than 5 speakers?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go to, it would be agenda item 10, I believe, which is the finding of public benefit. Okay, are there any additions, any questions on finding of public benefit? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
I actually have a question I feel like I ought to bring up, and probably should have dealt with this earlier, but since I'm here, I am on the board of the Latino Roundtable. Sonia, is it okay for me to vote on this or not?
Councilmember Nolte, I would say until maybe I have an opportunity to talk with you about the specifics, if you don't have a deep desire to participate out of an abundance of caution, I'd advise you not to, and then I can get more details from you for the next time around. Okay, so I'm gonna, I don't know if we can separate out that item, but I would just abstain on the B, request B. And if that item is not pulled or is not for further discussion, you can just abstain on that. Okay.
Okay, Councilor Torres, you had your hand up?
Yes, I just want to confirm if the, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard trouble pulling up the refresh line, that the NAACP event was placed onto the finding of public benefit. I know there, Jeanette Royston was requesting that it be placed on.
It's on there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on there. So a little explanation from you, Sonia. So I know that Councilor Nolte would need to recuse himself or abstain. Would he need to recuse himself, or do you just abstain is fine?
You can just abstain on that item.
Okay, so why don't we accept, approve 1A, B, I'm sorry, 1A and C. Can I get a motion to approve 1A and 1C?
So moved.
Okay, and can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Nolte,
Yes.
Preciado,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole,
Yes.
Lustro,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes. And then let's go ahead and do a motion to approve 1B in support of the Latino Roundtable. So this is our Chavez Breakfast. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, roll call vote.
I didn't hear you, but if you said my name, I say abstain.
Yes, that is correct. Okay.
Preciado,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole,
Yes.
Lustro,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes. And I realized, Rosalie, that I didn't include 2. Does that, should I go, should we?
Go ahead and do that one more time.
Already moved to approve. Oh my. And it's really early. It's only 8:57. I mean, I should be a little, a little bit more efficient here. My apologies to the council. 10-2, move to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
All righty, let's do a roll call vote. Did I miss any others?
That is it for that item.
Oh, thank you.
Nolte,
Yes.
Preciado,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole,
Yes.
Lustro,
Yes.
Torres,
Yes.
and Sandoval.
Yes. And just real quick, Councilmember Torres, you have your hand up, so if you can lower it for me, I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 11.
Okay, agenda item number 11 is the update of the City of Pomona's records retention schedule. And actually, this is my item, so I'll go ahead and go right into it, Mayor, if that's okay.
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay, so honorable Mayor and council members, the City of Pomona is upgrading its current records management program, including its records retention policies. The city selected Gladwell Governmental Services, Inc., an expert in local government records, to upgrade its current records management program. The upgrade of the current records management system was driven by many factors, including very limited storage space in city facilities, many departments filing and storing copies of the same records, the City of Pomona producing and managing many permanent records, technology advancements, and also the changes in law. The purpose of the program is to apply efficient and economical methods to the creation, utilization, maintenance, retention, preservation, and disposal of all records managed by the city. The retention periods of the proposed retention schedule complies with all laws and is standard business practice for California cities. The new retention schedule is a result of interactive collaboration with representatives from all departments participating in the project. The adoption of this retention schedule results in efficiency gains and cost savings by introducing proposed ordinance number 4299 and resolution number 2021-35. The City Council will approve and authorize the adoption of a new records retention schedule for the City of Pomona. Present this evening is Diane Gladwell, President of Gladwell Governmental Services, Inc., who is here to answer any further questions that the Mayor and City Council may have. Thank you.
Welcome, Ms. Gladwell. I'm sure if we have questions, we'll be sure to ask you. Do we have any speakers on this item?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to open it up to the City Council to ask any questions they have. If not, then I'll ask for a motion. But before I ask for the motion, I'll ask Rosalie to read the ordinance. Okay, all right. Any questions from the council? We are paying Diane. Well, I'm not sure that we're paying her. I want to make sure that we make good use of your time, Ms. Gladwell. Any questions for Rosalia or Ms. Gladwell? Wow, this is
We
okay.
do good work. We do good.
I tell us more about yourself, Ms. Gladwell. I'm kidding. All right. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Read it. Okay. Read it, and then we will have a motion.
Perfect. Ordinance number 4299, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pomona, California, amending ordinance number 2889, also known as the Code of the City of Pomona, by amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 9, City Records, Division 2, Records Management, Section 2-1127, Responsibilities, providing for the adoption, application, and administration of an updated records management program for all city offices and departments.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion, can I just say this, Rosalie? Thank you. Thank you for undertaking this effort. I mean, I could only imagine what things probably look like. I've seen that room off to the left where your office is at. And I don't know if it's related to this, but I suspect that it is. This
and
is
that's
actually,
one room.
Thank you for bringing us into the 21st century. We appreciate it, albeit in 2021. All right, can I get a motion?
Have a question. Does
No,
that
we're
mean
not
that we
taking
get rid
any
of the
questions. We're calling for the vote, Ms. Councilmember Garcia. You can ask 0 questions. No, okay, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if all the files that we keep under the stairs are going away too, because that's a bonus.
That's a part of it. It's all a part. Yep.
Yeah, I was.
Little hidden rooms.
Now, part of this is protecting the important records also.
Absolutely.
So Rosalie and I have met with all the departments and been very, very thorough at making sure all the important historical records are protected and that they have clear roles and responsibilities, and we know who's going to protect them.
Thank you for that, Ms. Gladwell. Appreciate it. All right, the ordinance has been read. Now we can ask. I can ask for a motion. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
All righty. Councilmember Preciado. Oh. Sorry, Vice Mayor Lestro. It looks like you beat Councilmember Preciado to the wedding here.
Age over youth.
Be careful there. Be careful. We are live.
Wisdom.
Vice Mayor. Move to close discussion and comments. All right. I'm not sure what's in the water today, but we're a little bit. I don't want to say less focused, but let's go ahead and move on. Okay, let's do a roll call, folks.
Roll call. Nolte.
Yes.
Preciado.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole.
Yes.
Lestro.
Yes.
Torres.
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes. I mean, it's rare when you see smiles from the council members, so I mean that's a good sign. All righty, let's go ahead and move on to the next item. Agenda item 12.
Agenda item number 12 is the amendment of the City of Pomona Municipal Code by adding a new code section relating to electronic filing of campaign statements and statements of economic interest, or Form 700. And this item is also my item, and I'm sure it will bring smiles to the council as well. Honorable Mayor and council members, effective January 1st, 2021, Assembly Bill AB 2151 requires agencies to post any campaign statement, report, or other document required by the Political Reform Act filed within 72 hours of its filing onto its city website. The city clerk's office currently accepts all paper filings of Fair Political Practices Commission, or FPPC, campaign disclosure statements, and FPPC Form 700 statements of economic interest. Although these filings are readily available for public viewing at the city clerk's office, these same filings are not available to view on the city's website. Proposed ordinance number 4298 will mandate electronic filings to ensure compliance with AB 2151, provide more transparency to the public, and offer an easier way for all filers to complete their required filings to the city clerk's office. The city clerk's office is in the process of entering into a contract with NetFile for the use of its electronic filing and administration system. This evening, I have Tom Debert, Vice President of NetFile, available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Welcome, Tom, from NetFile. All right.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Rosalia?
No, that's it.
Okay. Do we have any speakers on this item?
We do not.
Okay. All right, so I open it up to the city council for comments and or questions. Wow, I see all, there we go. Councilmember Garcia.
Move to approve. I mean, how can you be against this? Let's go, people. Let's go. Move to approve.
All right. Does anybody want to, Councilmember Preciado, this is your opportunity to beat Lester on this.
Second.
Okay. All right.
I just want to.
All right. Any comments or questions? And can you keep bringing things back to us, Rosalia, that we can get through?
Absolutely. This is great.
and okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and go. Tom, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. You were great. Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
Okay. Roll call, Nolte.
Roll call vote, yes.
Yes.
Preciado.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole.
Yes.
Lustro.
Yes.
Torres.
Yes.
Sandoval.
Yes. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You have a good night. All righty, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 13.
Item number 13 is a discussion of an addition to the emergency shelter overlay.
Okay, all right, and I would imagine that this is, and Anita, I know that we just had two rather easy agenda items, and now we come to agenda item 13. All right, we promise to be good, and I'm sure we'll have some questions. Do we have any speakers on this item, Rosalie?
We do not.
We do not. Okay, all righty, Anita. I would imagine you have a presentation, or would that be fair to say?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll have the council weigh in, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the momentum that Rosalia set for me, so let's keep it going. Let me just share my screen. Oops. And there we go. There you go. You should be able to see that, the whole screen.
We do.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. This evening, I'm going to facilitate a discussion regarding the emergency shelter overlay. So a little bit of background about how we got here this evening for this discussion. This pertains to the 5th cycle housing element, which was our years 2013 through 2021. You'll note that we're currently just on the cusp of beginning the 6th cycle housing element, so from 2021 to 2029. This is still, however, a holdover of the 5th cycle housing element that we're in. That was adopted by City Council in February 2014. We ran into some issues in 2014 and 2016 with compliance with state law, specifically with SB2, adopting sites appropriate under SB2 to allow for emergency shelters. We had a settlement agreement in 2018. And then in 2019, right after I had come on board, we did receive approval from HCD, and the council did take action to adopt an emergency shelter overlay with 4 specific parcels included. And then again in 2019, the end of 2019, we received certification with one caveat from HCD, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So these are the properties currently within our emergency shelter overlay. The first here on the left is our Hope for Home. It includes 2 parcels, 1390 and 1400 Mission Boulevard, East Mission Boulevard. Second is Inland Valley Hope, which consists of 20 beds for families. And then thirdly, which was the site of some discussion back in 2019, is the American Recovery Center. Now, the 2 sites here are developed with shelter uses. The third site, American Recovery Center, was used as a site as a potential site where shelters could go. And I'll note that's an important point here for this discussion is what an overlay does, and what we're asking for you this evening is not to, this action does not purchase parcels, this action does not use eminent domain. Purely state law indicates that the cities must provide opportunities where shelters can be located without discretionary permits. Now, this chart goes into some of the detail of where, what precipitated this conversation with the state. So Hope for Home had 300 net new beds. And now while we know Hope for Home can accommodate 400 beds, 300 was used here in the last housing element because those were net new. It counted out the loss of the 100 beds from the Armory that had previously closed. Additionally, there were 7 new beds from the Our House Family Shelter. They previously had 13 beds. As part of the action in the amendment in 2019, we allowed 7 new beds to be located there. That brought us to a total of 307 beds for unsheltered persons. That left a gap, so to speak, of 278 beds. That was the gap we were trying to prove to the state that we could accommodate. So the site we used was the American Recovery Site. Now you'll see the number here at 331. We had done an analysis at that time based upon a reasonable build out of that site based about a 40%, 50%, and 60% lot coverage, and about how many beds that could net, leaving also an opportunity for parking spaces as well as open space and other maybe ancillary services. The number 331 here represents the middle scenario at 50% development. So to give you some context, if we contemplated a more built out scenario, it could potentially accommodate 397 beds. But we went with a more conservative middle approach and used the number of 331. If that site were developed, and that's the vacant site, the 1.25 acre site adjacent to the existing building on that site, if it were built out, here's the number of beds it could potentially accommodate. And that got us to this number here, 638, which was more than enough to accommodate our 585 unsheltered count for 2018. That's the key number that we used in our 5th cycle housing element to say that that's the need we needed to meet for unsheltered persons. Now, it's also important to note since this time, our numbers have continued to go down since 2018. In 2019, going down to 439, and in 2020, 402 for unsheltered persons. Now, that's a case we attempted to make with the state. However, the state's HCD was pretty adamant that, and what they opined at the time in 2019 was that, yes, city, you provided an additional site with the ARC, but your approach and methodology left little additional capacity if ARC was not a feasible site to be built out. And so that's the position that they have held, although over the course of the last year, we have tried strongly to make that case to the state. They still are adamant that the city respond to provide an additional site as an opportunity for additional emergency shelter, which brings us to the discussion this evening. So staff went through a several step methodology process to bring forward some options for the council to consider this evening. Step 1 was we looked at our existing general plan, our 2014 general plan, and we analyzed the land uses and designations that support high density mixed use environments currently, especially along our corridors, along with designations that support a range of permissive uses. And that was our starting point. And then this analysis led us to land use designations for consideration in our corridor, as well as in activity centers within our general plan. And that produced a couple dozen sites, led us to step 2. Step 2, we analyzed those sites, which is a couple dozen, for feasibility of build out, proximity to healthcare resources, transit lines, and regional connectivity, things like that. And that brought us to the 6 sites that we're recommending this evening. Now, of these 6 sites that we're recommending, we recommend that maybe only one parcel be potentially included in this additional overlay, because really what we're trying to do is demonstrate to the state You thought, state, that our analysis previously was pretty tight. Here's an additional site to prove that we have sufficient capacity within the city to handle shelters should one want to be located. Now, again, this does not indicate that we have to build another shelter, that one will go on the site that we select. All it means is that we're zoning for the potential for one to be there. And these are the sites, and I'll walk through each one of them with you. This is the scenario of number of beds that could be used if you simply repurposed some of these sites. You'll notice some of these sites are have existing buildings on them. This is the motel, the Comfort Inn, and then also this is the OEO Hotel, and then the Comfort Inn Hotel on South Gary. So if you repurpose those beds, these are the number of beds that could potentially accommodate. In this industrial facility, 91 beds if you used that existing facility and simply converted it to a shelter, theoretically. And then in this far right column, the number of beds, again, using that same 50% development capacity scenario that we used for ARC. If you develop that site at 50% capacity, 50% lot coverage of the entire lot, how many beds could fit in a potential building? And here's those numbers here. Go all the way from 200 to almost 900 beds. But all, again, that is all theoretical numbers based on a potential build out that if someone were to come in and build something there. So I'll walk through some of those sites. This is the first two locations at 821 and 845 North Gary, and then just to the south, 130 East Holt, which is the OEO Hotel. And here is some existing facilities near those centers. So this one, as you can see, has quite a robust area of services in its general proximity. It has churches, transit, healthcare centers, rehabilitation, mental health centers, quite a bit of resources in that area. Second is 1421 and 1427 South Gary Avenue. This is the existing Comfort Inn. Near transit, their DPSS centers is just to the north. There are also some additional services, maybe just a little bit farther away than some of the other sites, but still within transit, which is a key factor in trying to locate an area where emergency shelter might be located. We have this industrial area, which is 3505 and 3531 Pomona Boulevard, near transit, easily accessible, and near supportive services. Then we have a site east of Gary, north of Arrow Highway, a vacant lot. Quite a bit of resources available near this site as well, similar to the first two. And then finally, 1150 West Holt, next to the St. Joseph Catholic Church. So those are the parcels, and we can certainly go back if there's questions after this presentation. So what next steps? What we're asking for this evening is a general consensus for council to identify the parcels that we recommended. Which of these would we want to move forward into our existing emergency shelter overlay? So which one would we want to add into the overlay that currently has those 4 parcels? If next steps would be for staff to return for ordinance for adoption. Schedule for that would be as early as March 24th at Planning Commission to review, bring forward a recommendation, and then first reading would be April 19th at council and second reading by May 3rd. Alternatives, if we don't do this or don't adopt an additional parcel into the overlay, there's a potential risk by review of HCD of our existing housing element, which then further jeopardizes funding that we've received based on having a certified housing element. The 2 main funding sources that we've received and are counting on to currently implement our 6th cycle housing element. We have, if you'll recall, the council awarded recently a contract with Kimley Horn to update our 6th cycle element. Our first outreach for that process is scheduled tentatively for March 31st. These 2 funding sources are used heavily to fund that process. We have SB2 grant at $310,000 and a LEAP grant also through the state at $500,000. So if we don't take this action, this jeopardizes that funding through HCD. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation, Anita. Just real quick before the council weighs in. And you did, I'm sure you did this, Anita, and maybe I just missed it, but the city of Pomona took a very, very long time to approve the last housing element, right? So we very likely left a lot of money on the table that we did not get because we did not finalize this. And so all I would just say to the city council is, let's not do this to our council colleagues who may be at this in 2030, 2029. Let's get this done. Let's get it done as quickly as possible, obviously thoughtfully, and being aware of sometimes the controversy around decisions like this, but let's get this done. Because I certainly don't want to put this on anyone, much like we had to deal with in the last the past couple years. And Anita, just thank you for your leadership on this, and thank you to your team. Really appreciate it. Just want to convey that. So I want to open it up to the city council to weigh in, because if I'm hearing you correctly, we don't have to do anything, but you think that HCD very likely will come back and say, no, you need to add one additional location potentially.
That's correct. And I've tried very hard with myself and Marco from our legal team, and HCD's adamant.
Yeah, and so then what you're saying is that if we came up with one additional site, that could be satisfactory to them. So as the council kind of weighs in on this, I ask that we consider geographical equity when we look at this. I think that's very, very important as we discuss this. So I'm going to ask the council to weigh in. If you'll just raise your hand. I see that Councilmember Nolte, you had your hand up, and then Councilmember Prescott.
Yeah, so I am in favor of the geographical equity aspect. I mean, I'll note that the recovery center is in District 1. Just a little back, I was on the council in 2014 when SB2, I don't know if it was passed right then, but we were dealing with all this, and that's also when we, got the what's become the recovery center there, the Hope for Home started. So I would ask my colleagues to find something outside of District 1, but I mean, again, I also remember that there was a lot of gamesmanship that was going on with this SB2 in 2014, and especially in other cities. And I just wonder if, Anita, do you know, did other people get these letters too, like Laverne and Claremont and San Dimas about because they, as I recall back then, the stuff that they were proposing was completely ridiculous in terms of ever having a chance of being developed as a site. I just am curious, have they been called on the carpet at all?
Excellent question, Councilman Nolte, and that came up quite extensively back in 2019, and I think why this council at the time was pretty upset in that some of our surrounding neighbors did not quite get the scrutiny that Pomona did. And we made the case very hard to HCD of all of the things that we were doing. We built a shelter and we made that case, but still there was outside agencies, groups that persisted to push Pomona for more. And those groups do have HCD's ears. And so one of those is Public Counsel, who did litigate with us and push the issue. We have received a letter for them recently asking, hey, where's your additional site? So they continue to watch us. I would agree that I think there are other cities that deserve scrutiny as well, but that doesn't get us out of doing what is required of HCD.
One more quick question. Do homeless individuals have a private right of action under SB2? I can't remember. I thought that was the case. Can they sue? Could you get it together, a group of homeless people, and sue a city that was not in compliance?
I don't know. I might have to defer to legal on that one.
No.
Well, I think if it promotes the public interest and there's a legal duty to update your ordinances to provide, if it's a mandate, I believe that an association of individuals could bring an action.
anyway, I just want to float that idea for any enterprising attorneys out there to think about with regard specifically to the cities around us, as being a way to, share some of the well, I definitely don't want to use the burden, but share some of the responsibility for taking care of the homeless people in the region. Anyway, those are my comments for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Nolte. I'm going to go with Councilmember Preciado, then Councilmember Garcia, and then Councilmember Torres.
Mayor Sandoval, I actually had a question for you, because I believe you were the one that brought it up last time, and I wanted to see if you wanted to continue along the same methodology. Because I believe last time you mentioned no vacant lots should be picked for the overlay. Am I correct, or?
I don't recall having said that, but you know what? I've said things before that I just don't remember, so forgive me for that, Councilmember. But yeah, I don't believe I said that, but video may tell otherwise. But is there a point you want to make as it relates to that?
It's okay. It's just I wanted to see if that was the case. I wasn't sure, because then it would have eliminated probably like 3 of the choices, and so. I'll go with whichever way the council would like to decide. I kind of have it I ranked them as far as what I felt was best in accordance to what has been impacted and what, where we already have current locations. So that was really my only question. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Preciado. Let's, if you could just lower your hand. Councilmember Garcia and then Councilmember Torres.
I want to echo Councilmember Nolte's request that we all become our brother's keeper, and we highly encourage the cities around us to take responsibility for their homeless population, which I see just walking into Pomona on Indian Hill, on Gary, on White, on other cities, on our major corridors, and definitely, Councilmember Nolte, I agree with you. But I believe that for our purposes in conversation today, because kicking the can down the road is not an option, I would highly suggest that we look at the motel in District 4. It's already used by, in my opinion, it could have changed since ownership changed, but I believe it's already been being used by people as housing of last resort. So it would not be a stretch to put that overlay there, in my opinion. I think my top 2 would be either the motel in District 4 or the industrial facility in D5. Although I am concerned by the lack of services offered by Pomona Boulevard. And those are my 2 recommendations, Mayor, keeping in mind geographical equality. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, and so we'll go with Councilmember Torres, and then we'll go to you, Councilmember Ontiveros-Cole. Councilmember Torres?
Yes. Just want to say that I'm open to whatever the city council decides in their choice for picking the location. But I want to speak to the residents of Pomona regarding public counsel, this law firm that claims to be advocates for the homeless people, when in all reality, they sue on behalf of certain homeless individuals. And I would say I had surveillance of those plaintiffs at Pomona Parks. A year later, I have surveillance of them acting crazy, not taking medication, and obviously without the financial support that public counsel claims to either offer them or is suing on their behalf. And let me help the Pomona residents understand one thing. This law firm, public counsel, this shady law firm, is not interested in solving the homeless crisis in Pomona. Because if they were, they would be holding other cities accountable and not targeting minority cities like Pomona. And money talks, because all you have to do is look at what they're charging, their billing rates. In the past, when I reviewed those documents, it's almost up to $1,000 per hour where they billing those fees. And it's you, the Pomona residents, that are subsidizing those legal fees. So when they come to you and they claim that the city of Pomona is not doing everything they can, and that they claim that they are supporting the homeless, well, the reality of the situation is the only thing that they support is filling their pockets with cash. That's it. And like I told folks on social media, and I encourage you to continue following me, is that what they want to do is they want to keep this city down. They want to keep the Latinos, the minority community cities down. That's exactly what they want to do. And they want to allow the more affluent communities to throw this burden onto our city. Because the reality of the situation is I can't name not one affluent community in this area that they have tried to hold accountable. What they've done is they've targeted Pomona, and they build us at crazy rates. So, you know, I guess it's something that I'm gonna have to go talking about on social media to thousands of people again. And I don't mind telling people what's going on in this city. I don't care, because the bottom line is I got reelected and had all these shady law firms working against me, and I still won. And I can say whatever I want to say on social media, and I'm gonna get reelected if I want to. So public counsel is just really horrible in their practices of solving the homeless issue. They really are, because if they truly wanted to do it, they'd be working with the city council, and they'd be billing us at a reasonable rate. They wouldn't be billing us thousands and thousands of dollars. And then at the end of the day, driving Bentleys, because I've seen footage of them driving really fancy cars. And I wouldn't see their plaintiffs at Ganesha Park, and I wouldn't have that under surveillance. So thank you.
Okay, all right, Councilmember Ontiveros Cole, and then Vice Mayor Lustgrove. And then it looks like you have your hand up again, Councilmember Nolte? Okay, all right. Oh, go ahead, Vice Mayor. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Councilmember Ontiveros Cole.
No
go, and
problem.
then Vice Mayor Lustgrove.
That's okay. Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'm not in favor of 130 East Hope being considered because of the fact that we've had a lot of problems on that corner. Jack in the Box had been dealing with such a problem. They had to put sharp rocks, and it's right next door, sharp rocks, so the homeless does not congregate there. I know it sounds cruel, but they were having a very hard time. We have a hard time right now on East Hope with the homeless situation. I'm dealing with it every single day. You know, I have dispatch calls all the time. I feel that because we're going to be in the future taking care of some of the East Holt improvements, that I don't feel that this would be something suitable. I think my constituents, you know, they have a tendency to get very frustrated. They're stressed out. They see what's happening on East Hope. We're trying to calm it down right now, and that's including human trafficking with signs posted 150 feet apart, LED lighting, and you know, everything seems to combine with each other. You know, the 1150 East Hope now. Is that St. Joseph's, if Mrs. Gutierrez, is that St. Joseph's? Is that the little schoolroom that's next door, or where is that located exactly? I'm trying to look at it on my Google here.
Yes, yes.
Is that? I'm sorry?
It's the church structure itself.
The church structure itself. The church. Okay. I was just wondering about that. So the church structure, that's a consideration for a homeless facility. Is that what you're saying?
It's part of the same parcel, correct?
Okay, okay. On 821 North Gary, that's the
in the rear of the church.
Okay, so it would be in the property of St. Joseph,
correct,
but in the rear of the church.
Correct.
So there would be more, probably more privacy, probably maybe more space for this type of facility, and maybe more resources or more help from the church?
I think it's reasonable to believe that, yes.
Okay, on the 824 to 845, is it West or North Gary? That's a vacant lot, correct? Purpose?
Correct.
Okay, and I think Council Preciado mentioned the fact that perhaps that was also mentioned in regards to a conversation we had earlier, and a mayor might have specified something about a lot. So that's something that we probably don't even really know yet until we look back into that. You know, so you know, that's probably pending, or whichever way you want to look at it. Now again, I forgot about the South Gary. Okay, what do we have there? I know, is it two locations?
On South Gary, correct, it's the Comfort Inn Motel.
Okay. Is that near the 60?
It's near the club. The old Boys and
Oh, I
Girls.
see.
Yeah.
That is the revitalized historic vineyard, correct?
Correct.
Yes, okay. And then we have one further down by the 60.
Yes.
Okay. And that is something that we're utilizing now? Is that right? I'm trying to remember. Is that the Motel 6?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
D3
that's
has
correct.
done our
Okay.
part. South Pomona has done our part.
Well, I think we're all doing our part, Council Garcia. You know, but because of its location and also we are utilizing it, why can't we continue with that area over there? I don't really see the comfort in, you know, I think it's more realistic to say that it's used for, you know, people who come into our city who utilize it to, like the Sheraton or something like that. So my selection, I feel, would be the location of the Motel 6 on South Gary, where we're still continuing to use it for that. And also perhaps probably the 1150 due to the fact that it may have the impact of the church that could probably give some support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Roscoe. We'll go over to Vice Mayor Lustrom. And I know you're going to come to us with an absolute resolution and solution for us. So I turn it over to you, Vice Mayor.
No, not tonight. Well, no, thank you for that. I just want to say I appreciate Development Services Director Gutierrez's presentation, and also just kind of reminding us that the state recommends certain criteria for the location of emergency shelters with respect to transit services, medical, those types of things. And I think that, you know, we have a few sites that we have before us this evening that probably fit more of that criteria than others. And I'm willing to go along with whatever my colleagues choose, but I think that needs to play a big part in whatever site we select tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I see Councilmember Nolte's hand up. Councilmember Torres, is your hand still up? Thank you. Alrighty, Councilmember Nolte.
Hi, I just want to respond a little bit about public counsel, just because I hear Robert Torres's, Councilmember Torres's frustration, and you know, they sued us once when I was on the council about you know, the belongings of homeless people, and that led to us getting lockers for the homeless people, and then I don't think it was actually a lawsuit about SB2, but it was kind of, you know, threatening letters. But I also want to stand up for them, because I don't think they're a shady law firm. I have some experience with them as a nonprofit law firm. They actually do a lot of really good work on behalf of low-income, poor people, disadvantaged people throughout the state. I mean, we happen to have gotten their focus, but I think it's more, related, unfortunately, to the way the law is written, such that, it's where, because the homeless people, people without houses are living in Pomona in large numbers, it makes us responsible under SB2 for all of the numbers that are counted within our city. And so if you're trying to find a place where you can put some pressure on, making cities react to create housing, you're going to go where the numbers are. And I think that it's part of the problem with the design of SB2. I wish it was more regionally focused and kind of, if we were combined as a region and cities had, regions had to deal with homeless populations instead of individual cities, I think that probably we wouldn't, there would be a focus on others. But anyway, I just want to point out that while I feel your frustration, I don't share the way that you characterize public counsel. That's all.
Is that it, Mr. Noel?
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'd like to go ahead and weigh in, and then I'm sure Councilmember Torres, you'd like to have a rebuttal to Councilmember Nolte. So one of the things that I had mentioned, certainly not to reference Councilmember Preciado's point about vacant land, is just so we're clear, because I mentioned geographical equity here, okay, and as of right now, just so we're clear, is D1 has a location, that's the American Recovery Center. I'm correct in saying that, and I think Councilmember Nolte mentioned that. In D3, we obviously have a Hope for Home. In D6, we have what is essentially the area near the CVS and the Smart and Final, albeit it's a small location, serves a very small number of folks, but is located there, which leaves 3 other districts, D2, D4, and D5. And I may have missed this, Vice Mayor Lester. Did you have anything to say about the D5 location along Pomona Boulevard?
Not specifically, other than the fact that I think that it's based on the presentation, based on what I know about it, it's kind of lacking in the criteria that normally we would look for in emergency services or an emergency shelter, other than the fact that it's near public transit. That's pretty much it.
Well, and just so I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is maybe more of a Benita question, but I don't know that she's on the call, that was one of the issues with a Hope for Home, right? I mean, it was out in East Mission Boulevard. It wasn't necessarily around services, but really the goal of a Hope for Home was to bring those services there to help ultimately get people into permanent supportive housing. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Benita, you are, forgive me, you are there. All right.
So yes, because of the lack of services in that area, we actually created an access center that brought the services, and that we also have transportation that brings participants who, before COVID, that would bring participants from Hope for Home to other services. So we compensated for the fact that we didn't have a high service area by providing the services on site.
So just so we're clear, this is an overlay, right? So this is just us saying that if somebody wanted to develop this, they could, but it by no means means that it will be developed, right? It's kind of like an undertaking, like a Hope for Home. But in terms of the numbers, so just looking, if we commit to this geographical equity, and I'm not saying the council is, although I think I heard Councilmember Nolte say that he's committed to that. And it makes a ton of sense, right? Because you have American Recovery Center. But knowing you, Councilmember Nolte, I know that you would, even if you didn't have one in your district, you would still be supported. Is of the sites in D2, D4, and D5, where do we, if they were to be developed, and I don't have the list in front of me, but what would be the highest number of potential beds?
Pull it back up.
And the reason I say it is because I'm just thinking of satisfying HCD.
Right. So the highest number of beds would be the West Holt. Second would be the vacant site on Gary. And then third would be the D5 industrial facility, followed by the North Gary site, vacant lot, and then the other two motels.
Okay, so again, just kind of following this geographical equity, on West Holt Avenue, which is the St. Joseph location, is that correct?
Yes.
Just down the street is American Recovery Center, not far from there. So I would say no to that. This is just me, and obviously this is a decision that the council has to make. On the site of East Gary and north of Arrow Highway, albeit it is a small location, but we do have a site in D6. I mean, I'd like for the council to give strong consideration to the site over on Pomona Boulevard. Again, this is an overlay. This is to say it could be done there. It doesn't mean it won't. It doesn't mean it will be done there. It's very similar in some respects to the to Hope for Home, and certainly Benita and the community rose to the occasion to provide a space that we think will help transform lives. And then just Anita, if you can take it down, just so I can see the rest of the council, is if we went with that site and we came up with a second site for it to go back to the planning commission, just for their, just having them weigh in, right? From a zoning, I mean, do they weigh in because it's a zoning, it's from a zoning perspective, right?
Yes.
It may be good to do that, but that's my 2 cents. I certainly want to be respectful of the rest of the council, but I think that may be a good option. There is never a best. No, I don't think, I don't want to speak for everyone. The bottom line is we need to solve this issue. And I think, and I just want to say, and I said it last time when we discussed this, is I believe and I know that Pomona is doing its part. We are absolutely doing our part. Obviously, the pandemic has had an adverse impact on our work at Hope for Home, but I can tell you that the staff is doing everything they can to help people and to get people off the streets. And I look forward, once we get past this pandemic, to get folks in there so they can hopefully get their lives back. And so I just want to say that, I just think this would be advantageous to us to just come with one more, even though I know we're meeting the criteria that was established by HCD. Alrighty, so I've spoken, I've said a lot. Let's go to, and I don't recall whose hand was up first. Let's go to Councilmember Preciado at this time.
I believe Councilmember Torres was waiting, Mr. Sandro.
He wants to get back at Councilmember Nolte. So I'm going to give you that chance, Councilmember Torres. I really like, okay, but I want to get back to the let's get back to the actual issue at hand. Okay.
I wouldn't assume that, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Torres. I just
make a comment. I actually was towards you.
I don't mean any harm. I honestly don't mean any harm. Yeah.
I hope not. Okay.
No. Yeah. Thank you. Do you want to comment? Do you want? Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. You're up, Councilmember Torres. Councilmember Preciado is giving me a hard time tonight, and I will address him privately. But Councilmember Torres, you go ahead and go.
I was just going to mention that what you just said, Pomona Boulevard. If we could look at that particular location, because as what the staff has stated, there's no guarantee that we will see something there. It's just identifying that particular zone. And if there was an issue, that I thought that would create a little bit of a less controversy in terms of the residents, because there's how would I say, the proximity to a neighborhood from Pomona Boulevard might be more adequately fit. So That's it.
So Councilor Torres, you were saying that you actually agree with me? Did I hear you say that correctly? Okay, is this being recorded?
Yeah, I think we agreed 90% during the you-know-what time.
All right, I'm listen, I'm kidding with you, and I'm sure you're kidding with me. So I appreciate your input, Councilor Torres. All right, Councilor Preciado. I'm not sure I'm going to give you any time to talk here, okay? You've instigated a couple of times here, so what do you have to say?
I just wanted to address the comment of, I know it wasn't meant in any ill intent, but the comment of just continue to send it to South Pomona, because we've always continued to just send it to South Pomona, where in fact, I know that these overlays will probably eventually never happen because our staff is doing such a great time at reducing our unsheltered population. But that corner of Gary and Holt, some of those homeless are there because they don't have housing. And if that motel would actually get restructured and looked really nice and it was redone, it would probably provide transitional housing and opportunity for those same people that are on the street, except now they'd be sheltered with Benita's amazing team, helping them find transitional home to eventually find permanent housing. But I'm fine with the D5 selection of Old Pomona Road. And that's it for my comment. Thank you.
Is that a motion, Councilor Preciado?
If it'll take us home, absolutely.
Okay, I have a motion. I do have Councilmember Garcia who wishes to weigh in. Do you mind closing us out, Councilmember Garcia? And Councilmember Torres, if you can lower your hand. We can go ahead, and I have a motion on the floor, and I'm sure I'll get a second soon. Go ahead, Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, Mayor. I would like to second Councilmember Preciado's motion that we use the Pomona Boulevard location after I express, again, my unbelievable disdain for anyone who continues to belittle, berate, and besmirch South Pomona. We are no longer in the era of redlining. And South Pomona needs to stop being treated as a place where all the bad goes. And it is a shame that someone who was raised and grew up in South Pomona, just blocks from my own home, would suggest that we continue that way. We are all in this together, and we need to make sure that when decisions like this occur, that we do geographical equity. This District 3, South Pomona, has done their part, and I definitely second the motion that we move this to another part of the city. I think that we all need to keep this in mind. Thank you, Mayor.
As the chair of this meeting, I'm going to close the conversation on this item, and I'm going to call for the vote. We do have a first and we have a second, okay? So let's go ahead and have Rosalia. So the motion, and Anita, just before we go, are you comfortable with what we've just recommended? I mean, obviously you brought it before us, so I'm sure you are, but is that satisfactory?
Yes, I am, Mayor. I think that's an excellent site to move forward. I think it is, as you mentioned, very similar to our Hope for Home site, and that it's a commercial zone property, but it's also contemplated for mixed use within our general plan. And that is the type of property that HCD has looked favorably upon and supportive of. So I think that's an excellent candidate to include in an overlay for a potential site.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead, Rosalia, if you want to, do you need to read this one? No. You do not? Okay, all right, go ahead and.
Just a roll call. All righty. Roll call, Nolte?
Yes.
Preciado?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Ontiveros Cole?
Yes.
Lustro?
Yes.
Torres?
Yes.
Sandoval?
Yes, and thank you, Councilor, say Vice Mayor Lustro. I know that it is in D5, it's in a particular area of D5, but I know sometimes these can be very, very sensitive issues for all of us, because we know that sometimes there is a backlash from our residents thinking that that this is a bad thing, and in fact, what we're really trying to do is to solve homelessness. and to create locations, or to at least identify locations where this could potentially, something could be built to help people get their lives back, as we have done with the Hope for Home. So with that said, we've already tackled agenda item 14. The last part is matters initiated by city council members. Okay, I don't see any hands up. That's great. Anybody want to raise their hand or comment? At this time, I do see Councilmember Garcia. You would like to say something, please go. Oh, yes, you told me about this earlier. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time. I would just like to have your support, Mayor, in proclaiming Latina History Day on March 2nd in accordance with Women's History Day. Thank you.
You got it. Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Any other comments from the council at this time? No? Oh, wow. Okay, I was kidding about the nothing. All right, listen, so that means that I get to adjourn the meeting. All right, so at this time, the next regular meeting will be held on March 15, 2021 via Zoom webinar due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It says closed session items will be discussed at 5:30 p.m. The open session will commence at 7 p.m. We actually will continue. I want to make sure, Sonia, that I capture that we will continue closed session next Tuesday at 11 a.m. So that it is noted. Okay, everyone have a good night, and we will see you soon. Okay, take care.
Night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff.